Okay, I can't really figure out why I make these intros. I'm not sure what everybody wants to hear. I wouldn't put out the pod if it wasn't awesome. So the following pod is going to be awesome. I sat down with Dovi Neuburger, and he is a comedian in the Jewish community. He's hilarious. And I want to say that one of the reasons I love sitting down with comedians is that they are the absolute most intelligent observers of everything. So we get to talking about just everything. I loved it. There was so much good conversation, so much good topics that we dealt with all over the Jewish community and even mental health and all the other things. So you'll thoroughly enjoy this podcast. YouTube, guys, I need people to like and follow. I want this algorithm to get out there. I want all these ideas and brainstorms that we are coming up with, these ideas that are not always spoken about in the Jewish community. I want them to spread. I want the conversation to keep going. So like and comment, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
Hello and welcome to the Brainstorm podcast. And now, your host, Sonny Perlman.
We're live. Okay, Dovi Neuburger. Let me tell you something. I was telling here. First of all, pull the mic closer to you.
Oh yeah, I'll eat the mic. Don't worry about it.
Eat the mic. I was telling my sister, Sarah Asher. I don't know if you ever heard that name, but
You told me she's a dean at YU.
she's dean at YU. I was telling her how much I was loving your stuff when you were like on Mislaibeled and stuff, and on some of your skits you were doing. And she's like, "Oh my God, I love her. I love his father."
Oh, my dad texted me about. I was like, "Are you going on a podcast today?" I'm like, "I didn't tell anyone about that."
I told my sister. Right
Oh,
away.
that's what it was. Yeah, we're getting talked about in the YU Rebbe's room, I guess.
Oh, it's amazing. Anyway, I thought of a Dvar Torah because you know the whole thing where Yitzhak says like a tzaddik ben tzaddik. We say tzaddik ben tzaddik is better than a tzaddik ben Rasha.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I know you as being awesome, and then I find out you're like the son of awesome. Like it's hard to like make yourself awesome when your dad's already awesome. I call them Superman dads.
Yeah, it was great. I was actually listening on the way here to Rabbi Kalish's Hesped, Rabbi Kalish's father was Nifter.
Yeah.
You know Rabbi Kalish from Waterbury?
Yeah, I had him on the pod too. And I know him for 20 years.
So, I never went to Waterbury, but I was in Heller with him, a big fan of his. So I was listening to the Hesped he gave for his dad. I'm very related. Like, I'm obviously Lahavdil, very different than Rabbi Kalish, but like a lot of relatable parts. He was talking about like the pride that comes with like when you associate your whole existence with the pride of like your parents. I very much related to that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. He's proud of your parents. That's nice.
Very proud. Yeah. Thank God.
That's freaking great.
Not everything's easy, but definitely my biggest point of pride in life.
Is your parents?
Mm-hmm. So funny. Even like I do comedy gigs now. Like most of them are from gigs or Jewish adjacent gigs, and I'm pretty clean, but like I'm a little edgy. And still, after all my shows, like I did a show at University of Maryland last couple weeks ago for Parents Weekend there. So I was doing my show, and it's funny because like for frummer crowds, you got to be cleaner in certain ways. Like you can't curse and like you can't make any like innuendo jokes.
Right.
But like in terms of being offensive, like racially, they're much more open to that.
Oh, okay.
So and then when I went to a college campus, like I had to switch a little bit because they don't care about cursing and things like that. But like you got to be a lot more PC. It's interesting. You got to be a little more censored than like even from crowds. So someone
Is
can't.
that still true? I hear comedians talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
saying,
even for me, it was true. And I was just playing to the Jews.
I feel like the younger people I'm meeting are getting edgier again, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right. But it's the ones that are crossing paths with you.
Oh.
You wouldn't cross paths with liberal college kids. Like they just wouldn't enter your circles.
I do, because my daughter's one.
Really? You live with one.
My daughter graduated from FIT. She's
That's the worst one.
I don't know if it's the worst.
Trying to save the environment and stuff.
She's a lover of everybody. The truth is, me in my self is I'm like super liberal. Like it's funny because I did vote for Trump. I don't know, get political, but I only voted for Trump because he visited the OL.
Really?
Told my wife I was not going to vote. I would never vote for Trump. Not because whatever. I just think the guy's about Guyver. I don't know. I'm like, he's such a gross person. I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. I wouldn't marry his daughter. I mean, I would marry his daughter. She's she's a dime.
And she's from. So, well, no matter which one. No, but I'm just grossed out that we have like our choice is a guy who I literally grew up my whole life like. You know, McDonald's is like not kosher, and if you want to learn how to not be about Guyver, you don't be like Donald Trump. Like, he was like representative of narcissists, and all of a sudden we love him. And listen, I don't really care about his policies so much. I like that he likes Israel. So when he went to the OL, I was like, okay, you got my vote. My wife's like, that's the most shallow reason to vote for someone. I'm like, yeah, all right. That's my whole reason. I don't have another one.
Anyway, so I was saying is that like, as I'll go to do shows in the weirdest places. Every show I've ever done, like someone's come up to me afterwards and been like, "Your parents gave me chassan and kala classes." Like I could be in a comedy club in New York. It's happened to me.
Every place.
Yeah, every place. It's crazy. Any shul I've ever played in, anything. Which is like I pretend to like, oh my gosh, like because I do play up the like, kind of not. I wouldn't say rebellious because I'm not rebellious, but the defective rabbi's kid. Because in my family, I'm by far the most effective, but
defective. Okay.
And that is like my whole bit in my comedy world is like the juxtaposition of my life in my parents' world, but I'm obsessed with it.
Okay, what went wrong?
What went wrong with me?
Yeah, I want to hear you. Not what went wrong. That's a terrible thing to say.
I'm probably the most ill-deserved defective child, I would say.
What do you mean?
Just had everything like I mean, it's not gone that much wrong, but like, why did I end up a stand-up comedian? Like, showered with love, like functional, best house, like great siblings, everything, like everything I ever wanted. I had like nothing, like really, I don't know. There's like this stereotype with comedians that they either didn't get attention or
right
this or that. So
is it true when you meet other comedians? You think it's true?
I think Mark Norman said it best to me. He was like I asked him about the stereotype of mental health issues with comedians. He said, I think there's a lot of depressed people driving trucks. They're just not funny. So like comedians are famous. Comedians have platforms. They speak a lot. They speak about everything. So they're more of a light onto what the entire human experience is going through right now. But they're the ones talking about it because they don't really care what they say.
Right.
They're willing to make jokes about.
No, but is Mark Norman saying that they are coming from messed up places? Or?
Yeah, but he's just saying it's representative of the entire culture. It's not more found in comedians.
It just happens to be.
Comedians talk about stuff. Comedians talk about everything and like.
Okay, so here's my best observation about comedians that makes me in love with comedians. Here you go.
Yeah.
There's many more because I'm just in love with comedians, and if I fanboy too much about comedians, let me know. But I think that the only famous person that is not full of themselves could only be comedians. I think you don't have to be pompous. Like you could say, you guy could have 100 million followers and be making enormous amounts of millions of dollars as a comedian and say like, I just crap my pants on Wednesday. Like it just,
I think comedians
I got too drunk.
I think comedians are a lot more full of themselves than you realize.
Oh yeah, because they're talking about stuff that's super vulnerable. So is that just part of the act?
No, but there's an inherent narcissism to going up and thinking like a room full of strangers should listen to what I have to say. Like I cannot, for the whole life of me, listen to a public speech from another human being. I will go out of my mind. Well, my whole family's rabbis. I will not listen to a drasha for me. Like I can only listen to a speech if I'm giving it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Stand-up's different. I love stand-up, and it's also like part of the art form. So I'm learning as I do it. So I listen to a ton of stand-up. But if I'm at a Sheva Brachos, if I'm at a bar mitzvah, and someone's giving an 8-minute speech, I'm like, get this clown out of here. What is he doing?
Have you ever heard a speech you're like, wow, I take it back. That was great.
Yeah, I'm sure I've been.
But not really.
I'm just like, it's inherently narcissistic endeavor.
You just want to hear yourself? Could you play back your sets and be like not cringing your brains off?
No, yeah, every comedian, you have to listen to your sets over
I know,
again.
but how cringy is it for you?
At the beginning, it's very rough, and then you get used to it. I actually didn't understand. When I was a kid, I used to watch my dad listen to himself, because if he was giving a shear that he'd given a bunch of times before, and he wanted to remember how he organized it, he would listen online to the last time he gave it.
Really?
And I was like, how do you listen to your own voice? But he just did it. Right? I think he just did it so much that he got used to it. I totally get it now. I could watch videos of myself and not cringe. I could listen to my own voice. At the beginning it was, but like
It's
now,
rough. I mean, as a podcaster,
now it's just scientific. I'm listening to 2 audios of me telling the same sets of jokes in different orders and seeing which one got more laughs, and just like making a calculation from that. So like it's like doing a math problem almost. It's cool.
So you almost like removed yourself from the fact that you're listening to yourself.
What do you mean?
No, because I listen to a podcast. It's very hard for me to listen to my podcast. I'll come into a car, my wife's listening to my podcast. I'm like, hey, put something else on. Like
Right.
it's rough. I love the conversation when it happened, but it's very weird to listen to yourself. It's just, to me, it's very weird. I will tell you, the first time I experienced enjoying listening to myself was I went on a podcast with Menachem Poznansky. You know Menachem Poznansky? Mislaibeled had him like 40 times.
Sounds familiar.
He's a therapist. He works in it anyway. So he had me on his podcast, and he sent the questions before, which I never got, but it was kind of interesting. So it was like a bunch of questions, and he said, and I started like writing down, like jotting down like notes about what I would answer about the questions, and then for fun, I just said, you know what if I wasn't on the podcast? And I was just like sitting in the bathroom thinking about these questions, like what would the real answer be? Like this is I call vulnerable answer, fake vulnerable. Like this is like, I'm going to make them think I'm vulnerable. But like, what's like the actual answer to these questions?
Yeah, exactly. That's what a comedian's doing. It's vulnerable, fake vulnerable.
They're doing fake vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then I kind of jotted those answers afterwards. And then when I got on the pod, I started with the others, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just doing it. And I did this like ridiculously vulnerable answers. And I think that was the only pod I was like, it was the first time I listened to myself back, and I was like, that did not feel, I didn't want to like it felt like authentic. I was like, okay.
Really? You weren't cringing at that?
I wasn't cringing. I was like, oh, maybe I'm just so full of it all the time that I'm cringing because like, why am I saying this to the world when it's not like authentically me?
Right.
Like, so that was the first time. It actually made me decide to try to be as vulnerable as I can on
There's like this tension also now that, because the world is like hyper vulnerable, almost too vulnerable at this point, where social media has convinced us that you should take pride in having everything out there, like talking about, and nothing should be off limits. You should talk about your relationships, intimacy, all this, and which I think is too far. But also like the from world's like lack of vulnerability is also a little too far. The like when you're in shidduchim and it's like it's not sneeze to say you're going on a date, like something like that. Like,
right.
Like they're both like wildly unhealthy, and we have to find this like nice balance.
There's got to be balance.
Yeah.
Although Norm Macdonald is my favorite person of all time.
Yeah.
And not, like definitely above most of us and stuff like that. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you're into Norm Macdonald.
I do. I don't think he would have. I think he was. It's funny. I don't think like if he was coming up in today's comedy scene, he could have made it, because people don't sit through 4 minutes of a setup to get to a punchline anymore.
I don't know if he would. I don't know. I just know that he was the genius of all genius. Like I couldn't handle how genius he was, because I would be thinking about his joke like 5 minutes later. Ago, there was so much more in there that I didn't catch the first. Like I just love his comedy.
You know,
his
the,
whole
the
thing,
perfect joke. You know what the perfect joke is?
Yeah, what that was set up with the punchline.
The setup and punchline exactly same.
Yippee! What was it? It goes, yippee! George Floyd died yesterday. Oh, I shouldn't say George Floyd. I don't remember the name of the guy.
No, he like it would be on like Weekend Update on SNL, and he would talk about like a celebrity couple that broke up, where like the guy was very ugly and the girl was like a supermodel,
right?
And being like, so and so, I forgot who it was, and like Christine Brinkley broke up yesterday. The reason being that he's so and so, and she's
and she's right. He's David Blaine and she is Chrissy Blake. That's no. He had one that it was the exact same words. This was the joke. I'll pick a name like Frank Cohn, I'm gonna say. So the joke was, you know what a yippie is? A yippie is like a yuppie hippie.
Okay.
So it was a thing. I guess at that time you would know it, but he said, "Yippee! Frank Cohn died last night." Oh, sorry. Yippee, Frank Cohn died last night. He just used the same exact words. He just said it differently, and it was hilarious.
I do love him. I was just like, it was recently I was showing another one of my friends that's like not a comedy guy, like one of his like classic jokes about the professor of logic. Oh, amazing.
Oh my God.
But it's a 6-minute video
It's right.
for one punchline, and my friend's like, I'm not like sitting through this.
Right.
And I was like, I guess it's just not for this time.
Right.
And I guess I wouldn't like it if I wasn't like in the space and like literally like trying to understand different
I don't
things.
know. I think I listen to like it's on my algorithms on the YouTube and on the YouTube. And I probably listen to Norm Macdonald almost every day. Even though
Really?
I've seen it a zillion times. And there's nothing he's done I haven't seen. But I'm completely in love with him. But his thing was like, why are you talking about yourself? Like, make jokes. He didn't tell anybody he had cancer for 9 years. He just didn't tell anybody. It's like, what's your business about my life? Right. He was like the opposite. He was the frummest.
Like nobody cares about me. Yeah.
He's like, what are you talking about yourself?
I do think people have to realize that people don't care about them. People don't talk about them. I get asked all the time, like, aren't you nervous, like putting this video out, but then that video, like people are gonna be. I'm like, nobody cares about me. Like it's inherently narcissistic to like.
What? I think they care about you?
Yeah,
but they do.
They don't really.
What's with like you're on like a reality talk show? Like, do people care about those people? I feel like they eventually start caring about them.
Care about them for like a month,
and they don't really care.
Yeah. No one cares. Everything. It like you think in the moment, everything is going to be a huge deal. I saw that with Mislaibeled also. I was wrong about this. He was right about it. Like every little thing that like would happen. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be like the talk of the 5 towns, and like you are for a week, and then nobody cares. No one remembers.
It's a very quick news cycle.
Very quick.
Yeah, actually, that was the first time.
As long as P Diddy keeps doing stupid shit, like no one's gonna be talking about you for long enough.
Right. That was actually the first time I talked to you. You didn't, I don't know, talk to you. I got on that
on that live? Yeah.
With Mislaibeled. That thing pissed you off. That was like...
Yeah, it happens to be I agreed with him about the inherent issue. Like, I'm not a Flatbush Girl fan. I think she's...
You're not?
No.
Let's talk. No.
I think she's fair game because she's out there and she does stuff.
No, she is fair game.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm just curious, because this is actually something... Because I got on there to defend her. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, I remember.
I was going with a very logical approach, whatever, because I'm trying to figure out why everybody freaking hates her. Like, we've been forever forcing people to do gets. Like, that's a thing we do. We just don't beat people up anymore. Now we have crazy Flatbush Girl going after them. Like, why do people hate? There's like, I have people, more people have come to me on my podcast because I had Flatbush Girl on, and it was a totally pleasant conversation. She was ready for a fight, and I'm like, you don't realize we're on the same side. And so it was a very interesting conversation because it was very pleasant. But I get more people upset at me about that podcast than anything else I've ever done. Like, it's like, what the hell how are you defending this crazy person?
I'll tell you why. It's not necessarily specifically the get thing or specifically one issue. It's the whole...
I don't know why explain to me why she pisses everybody off.
Me off. She's the like antithesis of everything. I'm a kind of guy. I wake up every day. I look at myself in the mirror and I say, like, Dovi, you are an Avarian. Like, you do a lot of bad things, and like that's fine. Every Jew's working on themselves.
Okay.
But like, I don't change the standard to accommodate, like, and make myself feel good about what I do and do or don't do. No, I don't like get up and tell myself like, well, it's not that important to daven because I don't daven. Like, that's a stupid example. But like, her byline of her Instagram page, if you look at it,
okay,
right, is, I think it says, freeing agunas through Bittul Kiddushin, something like that, right?
That's what she says? Without
boring your audience of the technicalities of Bittul Kiddushin, that is so asinine, a statement like that. Because that's not basically what that statement means is halacha is not real. Like, our Masorah is not real.
Right.
We gotta maneuver it to accommodate what's going on. Don't get me wrong, the aguna crisis, or people, a woman who is being held captive by a schmuck is a horrible situation. We got to do everything we can to get the guy to give her a get. But her attitude of halacha in general, and it came up on I watched her first thing with Mislaibeled, parts of it, when she was talking about like Kol Isha, she's like whipping out like I'm fine with a girl that's just like, listen, I'm like a striving Jew. I do my best, but I love singing and I think I'm great at it, and I got to put my my stuff out there. Like, she was saying how she's just like whipping out tshuvas and reading them upside down if you understand this way, and this obscure tshuva from the Maram Shif in the late 1870s. Don't do that. Like, don't rewrite the whole religion to accommodate yourself. Just be like, listen, not everyone's perfect. You got to do what you got to do. But the standard is the standard. Like, and her whole MO is adapting Yiddishkeit to accommodate modern values, I think. And it drives me nuts.
So you would be happier if she's like, okay, so I'll tell you, maybe you'd be happy with my approach. There you go.
Also,
also,
I think one of the things you mentioned about like the mikveh strike or the sex strike, you're like, oh, it would work if like everyone. And I'm like, yeah, it would work. But like, if we kidnapped the mother of every get refuser in the world and just tortured them in the basement until they gave a get, like it would work too. Like,
that's what we used to do.
Yeah, but no, we didn't. We didn't
The
kidnap
mother.
them. That's my
We
point.
get the guy.
Terrorism works.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why.
No, but don't say it won't work. He's like, won't
my
work.
point. Yeah, 9/11 worked also. Like it got everyone's attention to what was America's involvement in the Middle East. So is that an appropriate thing to do? Absolutely not. No, you can't like just blame innocent civilians for and collectively punish them for that.
Right. It's interesting because I actually am fascinated with sex strikes. Not that I'm fascinated. It's just one of the things I like dove into a little bit. Like, there are places that they just, like, if women weren't getting what they want, they're just like, we're done. But usually it's like in a neighborhood. Right. And they always get what they want at the end. So she's saying, like, if all women really wanted it, they would get together. And
I don't think she does a whole lot of research into every case she takes on. I don't believe that.
I will tell you from experience that she does not.
Right, so that's a huge problem to me.
Okay, so I think the thing that I love is that she's getting for people. Like, she's doing it. And I have a real problem with the fact that we're not making this a thing. Like, it should be a thing. It should be a thing.
I think it's very much a thing. I just don't think
what are people doing to make it happen? There are a lot of guys. There are guys. Tons of guys have told me like, yeah, I wouldn't give a get. Like, it's like a thing. You could not give a get and still be
really
a human in society, like in the Jewish world.
I don't know. I think it's hard.
You think it's hard?
Yeah.
I know. I mean,
I think once you have a name of a get refused, it's like falsely accusing someone of like molesting someone. Like, even if it's not true, you're forever associated with that.
I've heard a lot of people defend it for being a get refuser.
Oh, I think there are cases where it's defendable. I don't think every single. I don't think every.
It should be the most embarrassing thing in Judaism. I mean, like, it should be right after molesting. That's what I think.
To get refused for no reason.
Yeah.
Let's say, like, what about a case where
no, like I say, my view is
a kid hasn't seen
that Judaism always has been moving. If people in Judaism are suffering, the rabbis, and this is one of the things I'm proud of in Judaism, they do change the halachas. They do manage to work around.
Give me an example. I don't believe that. Give me an example.
Well, let's talk about the Cherem Rabbeinu Gershom. Why did he do that? We are allowed to have more than one wife, and he saw it as a real damage. And it wasn't just the wife thing.
I don't view that as changing the halacha. I think that's the Torah is given in a specific historical context, and we're gonna get deep here. Is that cool? Can I give you my philosophy? And could be kfira. I don't know, but like, this is my understanding based on like my limited understanding of how I've come to terms with what Yiddishkeit is.
Right.
I think that God's values are not tangible. They can't be written down. They can't be given over. Something like the world was created with certain like physical rules, right? Like, gravity is a truth and a rule that the world was created with, right? Mm-hmm. It exists in the ether. If you dig a hole in the ground and keep on going, you will never find a rule that says gravity. You never find the equation for gravity. But it applies itself in a million different scenarios. The rule of gravity is not that if I throw a ball up, it will come down. Gravity is a truth that applied to when I throw a ball up, it comes down. It applies itself. And I think that's how God's values are applied also. We need to be given tangible instructions. So in each generation, those values are applied differently, right? I think God's values apply equally to cyberbullying as they did to stealing from your friend's field in the time of Matan Torah. But Hashem couldn't have given us rules about cyberbullying 4,000 years ago because no one would have understand what's going on.
Right.
So I think something like all Darabanan Chayr Merbeinu Gershon is not a change in halacha. It's something like applying God's values, like V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. At the time of Matan Torah, V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha would not preclude someone from having 2 wives. Women were different, society was different, the marriage was different, relationships were different. Right. So it would not have been a violation of V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha to have more than 1 wife. Given our society and where we've progressed, positively so, it is now a violation of V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha to have more than 1 wife.
That's the violation?
I'm saying it could be a million different violations. I think it is one of them, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I don't view that as a change in halacha. I view that as an application and evolution of further understanding God's values and understanding how they apply to a new
Okay, so
modern
could I
concept.
say something? I'll say something radical. This is not an official. This is my own experience. Since I work with, my claim to fame may be that I know more. I've met more crackheads in the Jewish world than most people in the world. I
That's
guess
true.
That could be a claim to fame of mine. I don't know what to do with that.
I hope
Is there an award for that or something? I really want something.
Other crackheads, they're not doing, like, crackhead in my mind is like doing crack cocaine, like smoking a crystal.
Crackhead is my.
I hope they're
fond
doing, like,
way of
nice,
saying
like-
my boys.
Okay.
No,
I'm just saying, I hope they're doing real cocaine and not like some cheap crack.
No, unfortunately, it's
Really?
pretty lame. It's pretty lame.
Yeshiva kids are not getting like top of the line stuff.
It matters. It matters how wealthy your parents are.
That's the real crisis in my mind.
That's a
Yeah, we should get them clean, but first we should get them good stuff, you know?
Yeah, no. It's definitely ridiculous. No Jew should ever do crack.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
We should get Laser Shiner on that. Being like, Laser, we want to solve the epidemic eventually, but like, come on.
Listen,
They're doing Shlav bet stuff, you know?
It's embarrassing. A guy tells
is.
me crack, I'm like, I don't want to work with him really. Like, really?
Yeah.
I check if they're actually Jewish.
It's like smoking like a Schwarze cigar from a bodega, you know?
Right. So I've gotten some very interesting socks from Rabbanim about some interesting topics.
Interesting.
Which I don't talk about much, but one of the things that has blown my freaking mind, and I'm not sure if I should even say this publicly, but and if you meet anybody else who's dealt with this many, every single time there was a case where a teenage girl got pregnant.
Yeah.
Every single time, and we're talking well over 100 times I've dealt with this, it was giving a heter that they could ever get an abortion.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
It doesn't, because you have a father as a rabbi.
I think we have suffered from. I'm not a liberal. I'm conservative. I was raised with conservative values, like religion aside. Right. But I do think because Jews have become so conservative, we have suffered from conflating our values illegitimately, identity politics wise, with, let's say, Christian values.
With like Christian values.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have a law, don't do abortion, but it is. I've never seen them not give a heter. Never. Not even once.
I'm not like extremely well versed in any halakhic topic.
But it doesn't surprise you.
The Gemara says that if the Gemara has a case in I forget where in Ezekiel, but that if someone hits a woman and causes her to miscarry,
right,
he's not liable for murder, right? He's chayav to pay her property damage,
right,
for the fetus.
Right.
So we obviously have. I'm saying it's not like killing someone's cow, but we obviously have a nuanced approach to it.
We're not calling it murder. This guy's not getting a death sentence.
I don't know. I don't say not calling it. Probably not across the board. Again, we're two idiots that don't know any halacha. But
no, I'm saying in that case.
I just don't think it's as simple as like blatant as like Christian fundamentalists, like life started as conception. Like if you take the morning after pill, like you have committed murder,
right,
or attempted murder.
No, so they're always the reason that they're able to give this leniency is that the woman, you just need a therapist to say this is really going to affect her life really negatively, emotionally. Like it's gonna hurt her.
Right, that doesn't surprise me.
And that's pretty much it. It's like if it's going to hurt the mother, then you pretty much get rid of it. So the actually Orthodox Jews are really on the liberal side on this one.
Compared to Christian fundamentalists, yeah.
Yeah. So it's very fascinating. But what I'm saying about that, to what I love about that,
we're forced to align ourselves because of Israel and because of anti-Semitism. We are forced to align ourselves often, I think, with right-wing conservative movements that are fine for us to, but like we kind of mistakenly place them in the Torah sometimes when they don't necessarily come from there.
Right. Okay.
And I think abortion could be an example of that.
So abortion example. Well, my point was this. My point is that the rabbis saw this as a real issue. And since they saw it as a real issue, it's not about changing halacha.
That's what I'm saying.
It's just that
I think
you don't have to change halacha. I maybe I'm using the wrong words with changing halacha, but the idea that, like, you know, what always fascinates me about the Gemara is that in every case where we come with halacha, somebody did it differently. Like, we go back, and like, Rabbi Yochanan did it like this, and the Rabbanan did it like this. And Rabbi Yochanan actually did it differently. Like, he believed the other way. And we go by the Rove, because that's a scientific method, and it's a great method, and if the Rove agreed, then it's probably how it was passed down, and that's how it was established, right? Not
my understanding yet. I'm not.
Okay.
My understanding is that there's like that part of God's values are how to determine psak also.
Right. So what I'm
You've
saying
given me
is
those.
that if you have psak is one way, like, I'm coming as an ignoramus. I am. I love looking into things, but I will say that. I should say that. I should have said that before I even started this conversation.
We're hosting a pod. I'm saying like only idiots host podcasts, right? So-
Yeah. By the way, it's one of Joe Rogan's greatest tricks.
What?
He can say whatever the hell he wants because he says, I don't know anything. So, but I'm saying this.
Yeah.
You tell me if it's wrong. I'll change my mind. So I love that trick. It's fantastic. So I'm borrowing it. I'm an ignoramus. What I could say is that when something's an issue, Judaism usually gives you a way out. It figures out.
I don't think it gives you a way out ever. I think like we didn't know about mental health in the time of the Gemara. So there was no way for that. We didn't know about the brain. We didn't know how things affected people. We didn't know about trauma. Just like concepts we just didn't know about. I don't think halacha changed at all. But God's values are exactly the same. Given our new information now applied to different circumstances, they will apply differently. But if you don't know about mental health in the time of the Gemara, so then why should abortion at all be mutter? Like, it's just, there's no reason for it. You don't.
Okay, so let's go back to the Flatbush girl for a second. You ready?
Yeah.
So
my problem with Flatbush girl is that she's doing exactly what you're saying. She's saying she's working backwards. This is the conclusion we need to get at. We need to make people's lives easier. We need to. This is for whatever we need the woman to get a get. Let's reverse manufacture halacha to align with that, and that I don't think is appropriate.
So that's my question.
That's what she does when she says using bittul kiddushin is basic.
Never ever used. I don't think it's ever used. Is it used?
I mean, if it's brought up in the Gemara, it was used before. I think it's been used, right?
I've never been in a get case where it was used. I mean, I just haven't seen it used. I don't know anything, but I think it's never used, and I think that you jumping on one very unusable case and saying that's my mission.
No. By the way, it's used
weird.
all. Hafgas kiddushin is used all. I mean, maybe not appropriately used in the modern world. And again, you track much more yeshivish culturally than I do.
I have 2 kids in YU. What the heck?
Whatever. I'm saying you're up there again. I'm saying like in the modern, in the much more modern, for sure, open Orthodox world, like they use Hafgas kiddushin like it's mechiras chametz.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay, this is news to me.
Yeah. There was a bezdin a while ago called the International Bezdin or something that was just going around being mater agonas through Hafgas kiddushin.
Oh,
and I'm not saying it's like the Gemara brings it up. It's a real thing, obviously. If there was a real mekach ta'os, if there was no kiddushin, but it's a thing that is a reality in the case. It's not a mechanism. It's not surgery.
So what I'm saying, okay.
The word aguna
Yeah.
did not mean someone who was not getting a get, by the way. Originally.
Yeah, that I know.
It was referring to someone whose husband died in 9/11. Rahman al-Islam.
Right.
We have and again, being refused to get is a horrible thing, but we have bastardized the term too.
What is the term for that? It's still aguna, but it's different.
I don't know.
We
should really
don't
have a
even
rabbi
a
on
term.
this.
Anyway, what I'm saying is, let's say she didn't come up with a solution.
By the way, parenthetically, I don't think there could be anything inherently more misogynistic than 2 men smoking cigars talking about
Isn't
the
it great?
aguna crisis.
Well, to be fair, I sat down with the most controversial person and had a conversation with her about it. I actually did it with 2. I did Shoshana Keats-Jasko also, who is...
I just had a lot of calls like after that whole saga from both sides. I heard from there's a lot of pain. I agree with you. There's a terrible amount of agmas nefesh going on in the frum community because of this. I heard from women who are trapped in marriages that they don't deserve to be trapped in. But I also heard from men who haven't seen their kids in years, aren't allowed in countries because they can't afford to pay child support, and it's just a nuanced situation, I think.
Well, I will say that situation is happening in the secular world as much as it is in the Jewish world. It's just the Jewish world, we have an extra thing to fight them with. Don't get
No, but there are cases where, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's take this as an example. And I'm sure you've heard of cases like this. I'm not thinking about one person in specific, but I've heard this over and over again. First of all, according to the Beis Din HaGadol, I should really look up this stat, but a few years ago, I remember reading that according to Beis Din HaGadol Yerushalayim, which is the biggest massacre in the world, that a woman is more likely to refuse receiving a get than a man is refusing to give a get. And yeah, you could say heter mei or rabbanan, whatever. It's not an easy process.
Right.
So women use the leverage of not accepting a get also. Yeah. I'm saying there's bad guys in every situation.
Yeah, 100%.
But let's say you have a scenario where like a woman decides she doesn't want to be from anymore. That's the cause for divorce. Happens all the time.
Right.
And she's going to win in secular court because she gets a liberal judge that looks at Orthodox Judaism as barbaric. He's raising my kids with these messed up older day values, and she's using that to get custody. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, and the guy's fighting to get some access to the kids, to give them some Jewish upbringing, whatever it is. And at the same time, she's using the get refusing case, meaning she's not from anymore, but she's saying, give me a get right now, or I'm going to go tell the whole community you're a get refuser. And he's stuck, meaning like he wants his kids to be from, and the secular court's not going to let him. And she's using the get to get him to do what she wants. It's crazy. Meaning she's using a halachic mechanism. She's using not a halachic mechanism. She's using a Jewish communal mechanism to force her ex-husband, to allow her kids to not be religious anymore, which is a wild thing.
Which is wild.
Which happens.
Yeah. I guess all these things happen. The truth is people suck in a lot of ways, and I definitely seen the both things. I think my question was different, but I explain. I wonder, what is it triggering in men? And this is maybe get into your comedian mind a little bit. As like an analysis. Why are they so pissed? Like, so there's some crazy lady running around yelling and screaming about it.
I think everyone knows. I think there is no voice for men in this area. Happens to be like, we all know of the Aguna crisis. Every 6-year-old knows of a time where like there was a lady trapped in a marriage and a bus full of.
You don't think it's because of her that we all know?
No.
I do. No. Dude, a 19-year-old kid comes over to me.
There was an FBI sting a few years ago about rabbis beating the hell out of.
The only place you'll ever find me in a newspaper, because I have a policy not to.
But that wasn't Flabbish Girl was getting in the back of a van and hitting.
No, but it was secret. We if you were in the know, you know, but it wasn't like a thing that people knew that there's a big Aguna crisis. When I grew up, there was no Aguna crisis. I never heard of Aguna crisis. There was no Aguna anything. I happen to know all those guys who did the beating up, and I was super pro it. Now, I don't believe you should break the law, but I'm pro the idea of a guy's not giving a get. You know, we should go with the Rambam and beat the crap out of him. I'm cool about it.
I'm not so cool with it.
Yeah, I'm pretty cool with it. So
not just halachically, it's questionable. Also, if those get in, we're good.
Yeah, but most people
you're
are pretty
Mako.
cool with it. I'm pretty Mako about it. I think what really surprised me is that, like,
and apparently we're not doing enough research. If we got an FBI, if an FBI agent was able to convince us that her husband wasn't.
That was the only thing about that thing. And I'm friends with all those guys that went to prison. They're all gonna come on my podcast at some point.
I would love to meet them because I could use some Jewish goons.
They just happen to not be here, so I can't do it. But I'm really close to all them. I'm actually in the newspaper defending them. Back then, we lost so much funding because I was because they were my boys. Like, I'm like, whatever. These guys didn't make a penny. They didn't do anything. They were just like.
I'll tell you, there are times where I could use the Jewish mafia. Like sometimes, like when I get like I got my phone robbed last week. Mm-hmm. And like I just wanted to there was just like time I was like, I just wish there was like a Jewish mafia. I could just call up and just like go to the guy's house and be like, don't mess with Jews anymore. You know what I mean? Like back in the day when they had like those famous Jewish mobsters. Who are they?
I mean Bugsy Siegel.
Yeah, Bugsy Siegel. Murder what was it called? 1-800-MURDER or something.
Something. It wasn't one. It was Murder Inc. Maybe?
Murder Inc. Yeah, something like
I
that.
can't believe I knew that. So
It would do a lot for the fighting on college campuses. We could solve that problem in a second with the Jewish mob.
I think it's fascinating because you have people, like especially like Label, right? You know, there's certain people that like they don't. You could say stuff about Allah, they don't care. For some reason, she's hitting a chord in men.
Because every guy knows a guy that's been taken advantage about this.
You think that's it?
Yeah. I mean, like,
Nobody.
I could think of 3 off the top of my head, and I don't know. Like, I'm not like that involved in the divorce space. That are really just victims of people that have given a get. That either just the other side has more money or more power in the community, whatever, and these husbands are never going to see their kids again.
Okay, well, I'll tell you. I
just think, listen to me. You had this should never happen to you.
Yeah.
But if you had a son,
yeah,
that came to you and said, "My wife is divorcing me, and her family has $100 million, and they will and clout and bought off and they will make sure that I never see my kids again. The one play I have is that I have this piece of paper I get and I could refuse, and it's the only way I'll ever see my kids again." I would be interested what you advise that your son to do in that scenario. I don't think it's as easy as I know. Flatbush girl would say, "No, it's not, you can't use that as Flatbush." But it's never about. I don't think she would tell her son to do that. As a grandfather that wants their grandkids to have a relationship with their father, I think it's a lot more nuanced and a lot more complicated.
Okay.
I just don't like. I don't like. Sorry, my yarmulke keeps on falling off. Everyone gives me a lot of like when I record like impromptu like Instagram things. I'm not always wearing a yarmulke. It falls off, whatever, and like I get a lot of flack for it. Like people are like, "You don't look friendly. You look like a shea gets whatever." Like whatever. So it's falling off. I just think that
you need clips, bro. You need clips.
Clips are for why you guys give me a break. Bobby pins, come on. If your yarmulke is not falling off and you're dancing at a chasana, then your mom didn't cover her hair growing up. I don't know what to say. I don't like absolute statements, is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
It's never ever, and there's been a million getting in Klal Yisrael since Maimon Arsina. There's never been one case where it was appropriate to refuse a get. I don't believe that's
okay,
true.
I guess I was just trying to figure out what the vitriol is about. Like
Why does it affect? Yeah,
people are so mad about her. There's so many people. Like you take there's a guy.
Do you have a lighter, by the way?
Yaakov Shapiro.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. I got it.
You know the guy Yaakov Shapiro who is a rabbi in Bayswater who's like super anti-Zionist.
Oh, I've
You know
heard
that
of it. I like.
Guy wrote like a 1,400 page.
He's a
book,
spokesperson for
anti-Zionist.
Neturei Karta or something.
I don't know if he's a spokesperson, but he's
Bayswater or Bell Harbor?
No, Bayswater. He's not part of Neturei Karta. He's like a yeshivish guy. He's not, and he's so wild about it. And maybe he's just not as well known. But I think like most people will be like, all right, he's a crazy guy. You know what I mean? I think it's something to do with the fact that she's a woman that everybody is losing it. Like, who are you to come in and mess with like the halacha and like you don't get
No, but I'd never heard of this guy, Yaakov Shapiro.
Oh shit!
It's just
a
like
bad example. I'm trying to think of an example. I'm trying to figure out why people are so mad at her. I will tell you this one.
There are women out there in the frum community that people love. Non-Jewish nanny's the goat. I haven't heard one. Trust me.
I think if any woman messes in the realm of halacha, they're gonna crush her. Like, get out of our place. You know, you do your thing. Get out of our space. I think I've never seen, because I'll be like, okay, I don't agree with her. All right, move on with my life. But the amount of anger that it has, and I want to get off this topic. I will tell you the one thing that like bothered me about when I had her on a podcast is she didn't have a very good sense of humor. I was trying to make jokes and like she
What were her husbands like?
I know her husband. Good dude.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Does he have a good sense of humor?
What? Yeah, he's pretty funny about things. But she started off like doing comedy bits. Like not
but those
like
weren't
stand-up
funny.
comedy.
Those weren't
They
funny.
weren't so funny, but you think there's a sense of humor.
I saw them. There's an old interview. The funniest interview she ever did. It wasn't on purpose. There's an old interview of her interviewing Rabbi Mizrahi.
Oh, I saw that.
It's gold.
Gold.
He's the funniest guy on the internet. He's the Donald Trump of Orthodox Jews. He's the
Is
funny.
he? See, that guy makes my blood boil. That guy makes my blood boil.
He doesn't make you laugh though.
I laugh, but also I'm pissed that there are people following that dude.
I don't know. Like, I guess I just don't take him so seriously, so it doesn't make me
But
mad.
there are people that are like really into him.
I guess that's where that's our point of contention is. Like, I don't really see people changing their life because of Rabbi Mizrahi, and I do see the influence that Flatbush Girl has.
So I see it in both. This is a good example right here. Rabbi Mizrahi, I would think there'll be a lot more angry people about Rabbi Mizrahi.
Oh, there are tons. There are tons.
There are tons. Yeah. I don't hear it too much. I mean, there are people like upset, whatever. It's usually women upset, by the way. I don't see too many.
I know a lot of male rabbis.
Real angry about him.
Yeah.
Okay, well, support. I'm angry about him.
I maybe in the
Can't handle
Jewish
that, dude.
community it's different, but yeah, I know some angry rabbis about that.
I cannot handle that, dude.
I could listen to him for 11. I know I said before I can't listen to other people speak.
You listen to that.
I could listen to him for 11 hours. He's wildly entertaining.
Why?
He just says crazy shit, bro. Like crazy stuff. And he says in that accent. And he just sits there for 3 hours preaching. He'll just say the craziest. I love it. And he'll just, no sources, nothing. He'll just blame whatever he wants on whoever he wants.
On whatever he wants.
Yeah. The bridge, it collapsed in San Francisco because of, you know why? It's because in the Parsha, it say because of the gays. That's why. It's clear in the Parsha the bridge collapsed because of the gays. Like, I'll say stuff like that. And I'm like, this guy is electric. There's just no one else like him in the frum community that says that.
No, it's true.
That just like, I don't know, just sit back for 3 hours in a shul in Queens and say whatever the heck comes into his mind.
Okay. Wow. I keep going back to Flatbush Girl because I see Flatbush Girl the way you see him.
I don't take him seriously.
I don't take her seriously either. I like what she's doing. I like that the only thing I really like is that she is putting a spotlight on a problem and it's being, and people have to deal with it because she's making so much freaking noise. So you have to deal with it. And I think it's a problem.
So here's my issue is I think these issues were being dealt with maybe in a more silent way. And I'm fearful that the spotlight she's putting on it is being put, because like we all know of cases where she's ruined situations, right? Where she's not done her research and it's just been disastrous. And I wonder if the bad is outweighing the good or the good is outweighing the bad.
Okay.
I really wonder.
Maybe you're right.
And again, I think it's like a similar rationale that terrorists use to highlight the issues that they're passionate about. A lot of people learned a lot more about what's going on in the Middle East after two of the biggest buildings in America went down.
Right. All of a sudden, everybody became aware of it.
Yeah.
So they made an awareness, but it doesn't necessarily mean it was good. Awareness is not always good.
I wouldn't put it past Flatbush Girl to hijack a plane to free Naguna.
You don't think that's hilarious? I'm sorry. You know what? You're a comedian, bro.
I'll give that to her, fine. If she hijacks a plane, then props to her. That would be the funniest.
Dude, I
shit
watched that thing 1,000 times.
1,000 times. I would make a movie about it.
I do think that Label getting in trouble. He never gets in trouble. He's fine at the end, but he got in trouble with the guy exposing himself on the
I wasn't even involved then.
You didn't get involved.
That was it was a year before I was there. I didn't even know about it.
Right. Okay, it was the year before.
Yeah.
Did you like being on that podcast? I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I got to meet like a ton of cool people.
Dude, you did the Mark Norman podcast.
Yeah, I love Mark Norman. I love it was just an amazing experience. And Label's an incredible producer and
right. And
getting guests there's no one like him. But I think what bothered me about that interview is just it's so not my style. That was when there was just a lady that we just none of us knew and got on and he just berating her about this is why she's not getting it. And he might have been right. I don't know.
Right.
It was just I don't know. This is I'm trying to have a good time. I'm trying to chill. I'm trying to smoke cigars. You know, I'm not trying to you asked me about Flatbush Girl. I'll tell you my opinion. I think she's nuts. I think she's poisonous to the Jewish community. I'll say that, and I'm sure people will be upset with me for that. But again, does it look like my blood is boiling about it? I don't no. I'm not going to think about it on the way home.
Right. But you don't think it's a right to be not nice to someone who's suffering? You don't know anything about them.
Definitely not on Instagram Live.
Right. That was pretty wild.
Yeah. No. And again, listen, he would say the same thing you say. He calls attention to issues that he's passionate about.
Right.
no, nothing against him. Like I actually think Label's a great person. I think he's a good person. I
like him a lot.
I think he has a unique style that not everyone's ready for. Trust me, we had our share of fights, and there were definitely things we disagreed about, like creatively also. I don't think he's a bad person though at all.
Right.
I think he wants to do good in this world.
That's awesome. I'll tell you, the interview I had with him was great. Yeah, I was on his podcast a while ago, and it was great.
I love the cigar, by the way. I could taste the chocolate.
It's a good cigar.
It's delicious. Yeah.
My brother Kiwi introduced.
We got to get like
this.
a cookies and cream flavor or something.
Yeah, because this is chocolate. I want to try another one. Let me try one of these guys.
So
do you get to meet all those guys? Like
Yeah.
Mark Norman, you like get to meet him? Dude,
Yeah. Well, Mark's interesting. Mark is the most awkward human being I've ever met in my life. He's the most insecure, least confident. I love that guy. I'm obsessed with him. He is not a narcissist. He thinks he's the biggest loser in the world. And he's just an electric person. I don't think he wanted to be with us for a second, but
really?
Yeah, no, he's a good showman. But like, I don't know. You guys flying to Austin to go on Rogan. You think he wants to hang out with two like defective yeshiva schmucks? Like who?
You don't think he wanted to even do it?
No, I mean, I don't think he was upset when he was there. We had a great time, but like, I don't think it was high on his priority list. Which again, credit to Label for getting him there. But.
So how did you know you wanted to be a comedian? Like it's such a wild.
Oh, so comedy is
it's like a from guy like doing comedy.
So I always loved stand-up.
Comedy. Sorry,
I have a lot of car stuff to Brian Regan. Because growing up, like I wasn't allowed to listen to most comedy,
right?
But Brian Regan we were allowed to listen to.
Yeah, because he was clean.
Seinfeld was pretty clean. We were allowed to listen to him.
Seinfeld was always clean.
And so that's what got me into it. My dad has a great sense of humor. We used to listen on the way. We used to drive to Canada twice a year. My dad's from Toronto.
Oh wow.
We used to listen to a lot of comedy. Again, clean comedy. We used to Brian Regan, Seinfeld, a little Jim Gaffigan. There was this station on XM radio, Laugh USA. That was before like TikTok and Instagram. That was like where you listen to like comedy bits. Most of them suck, but once in a while you'd get like a Mulaney or a Gaffigan. And I was the youngest of six. My house was flying. My dad was a rab. My dad had a big shul. He was
where are you from? Where is it?
In Teaneck.
In Teaneck.
Bergenfield.
Okay, nice. Bergenfield is Teaneck.
Yeah, so there was just always chaos, and I was always fighting for every ounce of attention. Not because my parents didn't give me, just because I loved attention. I think when you grow up in like the public sphere and like your dad's a rub and like you get used to a certain type of stimulation, you get very stimulated by attention. You get used to it, and that's like the type you need. So,
really,
like my family's very sarcastic, rip culture, and if you don't have something funny to say, you don't really get to talk a lot. You got to have something witty, clever to say. So I grew up in that culture. I was the youngest, and
are your parents funny?
Yeah, very funny.
Really?
I mean, not funnier than me, but
not funny.
My mom's brilliant. My mom's a creative genius.
Right.
She just applied it to the study of Tehillim.
What?
Yeah, she's a Tehillim teacher. But she's a great creative writer. She's already writing poems and stuff like that. And
let me have the lighter.
My dad always had a.
How cool is it we get to smoke cigars?
Oh my god!
I
would do a podcast every week if I could do it.
It's so cool. Come use my studio, and then you could get a free studio.
I love that you have the. So whoever built this place had cigars in mind, like
yeah,
the ventilation.
This is for cigars. It's a cigar room.
Yeah, unreal.
You know, rich people have cigar rooms.
I've heard. I've
been to a couple of cigar rooms. I'm like completely blown away. I'm like, this is a whole room in your house. You can turn into a guest room. Like, yeah. This is a guest room for me.
Unbelievable.
It's not a cigar room.
I don't smoke cigars so much, but I do really enjoy them. It's like my. I don't like cigarettes but cigars I like a lot.
Okay, so when was the first time you got up and did a set?
Right. So, I mean...
I'm asking all these questions for research purposes.
Oh, no. So, I mean, I started, like, Family Simchas, Shavar Brachos, Afrafs. That was, like, when I started... Those were, like, roasts, really. And I was just, like... There was no high in the world to me then like I'm terrified of heights, and I love roller coasters because that moment of anxiety and coming down. I've gone skydiving, that adrenaline rush.
Nice.
Nothing. I didn't find anything.
I did it with my daughter.
That compared to the adrenaline rush of getting up there, everyone's staring at you, expecting to say something funny, and you going that joke and finally getting that laugh or not getting that laugh. That rush was just like unparalleled to me. And once I tried it, I was like, I can't do anything else. So I started I was doing a lot of offer of speeches for my friends.
You get offer of gigs.
No, not. And I first, I did the Simchas Torah auction in my dad's shul. And that was the first no context comedy I did. I just had to get up and make people laugh with no context. Right? Not an offer where you have a guy you're talking about. And then I took a course through Gotham Comedy Club in the city. Anyone can take it, where they have a professional comedian, actually who I became good friends with, Ashley Austin Morris. She's a female comedian in the city, and now I brought her into the Frum community. Actually, she's a Christian from Texas. I didn't make her from. No, that's not what I meant. I meant she does a lot of my.
That's where I did start my kiruv.
Because she's a very wholesome comic. She's the cleanest comedian I know, way cleaner than any Jewish comedian.
Really?
Because she's a Christian lady, and she's very wholesome. And she taught me my first 5 minutes, I would say. Got up at Gotham, graduation, invited, this was hilarious. It's this course with 10 strangers. And what they do is they give you a night at Gotham Comedy Club it's like your graduation, where everyone invites all their friends, and the club makes money. It's how they make money on you. And you do your first 5 minutes, and it's like the graduation. So I put on my WhatsApp status, hey, trying comedy, come out. I'm from Jew. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of fans, whatever. So I'm 30 people come to the club for me, something like that. 30, 35, I don't know, buying tickets. I'm sitting next to this girl in my class, not Jewish, really, really, probably she was the funniest in the course. She was overweight. She was insecure. She had everything going for her in a comedic sense. No, but she was really funny. To this day, she was the funniest one in the class. And she's nervous before the show. She's like, do you have anyone coming for you? Do you? And I'm like, yeah, I probably have 30 people coming. She's like, she's not from, she's like, 30 people? Not you have 30. She's like, you have 30 contacts in your phone. I'm like my immediate family is 25 people. It's just it was just a culture shock with growing up from how much people and that gave me a huge leg up in starting out because I could get people to shows, just how many people I know. And my parents were so well known in my community, just the novelty of this, our rabbi's son is doing comedy, we have to check this out, was a big leg up for me, which most people starting out don't have. So that's how I started at Gotham. And then
is it harder to do it in front of people that you know than people you don't know? Yeah,
way harder. I mean, sorry, the harder to write material for people you don't know, meaning when you can't make jokes about the guy getting an aliyah or insular jokes that are to the Frum community. If you can't make jokes about Rechnitz and Shiner and whatever, that's much harder. Anytime you're trying to, because stand-up comedy is a exercise in bringing strangers together, bringing people together, bringing a room full of people to relate to a common experience. So the more different that room is, if you're just in a club in the city and there's Indians over there and there's Mexicans over there, whatever, that's going to be much harder than uniting people around a joint experience, a room full of from people that all have pretty much the exact same life in the spectrum of humanity. But the anxiety is unparalleled in a room full of people who are potentially going to be setting you up with your wife versus strangers in a basement in the East Village, 11 o'clock. Those are way more fun because I'm not nervous. I'm just
this ain't good.
Yeah, it's more challenging. It's
could you say, how do you make a Frum joke to a non-Jewish audience and get them to somehow relate to it?
Right. So that's could you do that? Well, do you watch Ari Shaffir's special?
Dude, I was thinking of that right now. I'm just how did he do that?
Right. So he wasn't. Jackie Mason was the first to do it. Jackie Mason's following was not only Jews. He was able to make, and he didn't change his comedy. He wasn't like, oh, I'm going to a non-Jewish audience. Let me make jokes about the subway and airplanes now. He kept his jokes, but he just made them relatable to a non-Jewish, which is what I would love to do. I would love to be a Jewish comic for non-Jews and use the same material, tell the same jokes about mezuzahs and what else do I make fun of? And tashlach, and I'm trying to remember what I
just want to say the other night I was dying, man.
Oh, I appreciate it.
So
I don't want to change. I want to change the joke so a non-from person, a non-Jewish person understands it, but I want the concept to be the same. If I get up there, and that's the challenge, because you have 40 seconds for a premise, basically, before people aren't paying attention to you, unless you're Louis C.K. and there's buy-in, right? If you don't have fans, if you show up to a comedy club and no one knows you, you have about 40 seconds before they stop to hit a punchline for them to be like, all right, I'm going to listen to this guy.
Yeah.
So
I've been to shows where there's like 16 people and 14 of them are absolutely horrendous.
yeah, depends on the club. You should, from now on, before you go to a show, just text me and I'll look at all the lineups in the city. I'll tell you the best one.
I want to tell you something. For someone who loves stand-up to the level I do, I've worked nights for my whole career. For the last 25 years, I've been working nights. I never get to shows. I go to Levity Live here sometimes.
Yeah?
They're pretty solid over here.
Levity Live is actually...
they get some...
they're a real tour stop for the big guys. Schultz got in a fight with Levity Live.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I know he got into a fight with somebody. They shut him down, but I thought that was like BAM.
Two different things. Basically, when Schultz, and we'll get back to, I'm doing the weave. I'm doing the Donald Trump weave now. When Schultz was doing his life tour, and you should love Schultz because he's the one that brought comedy back to like being offensive. He's like when you say
he's the guy.
When you say you meet young people that are coming back around to being like offensive and not PC, I think
Schultz is the guy.
Schultz started that culture, meaning he started that brand of comedy. Schultz, Gillis, Ari Shafir, Mark Norman, like being able to joke about whatever you want. I think Andrew Schultz really should be credited with bringing it back. He's more than a comedian; he's a cultural icon at this point.
Right.
And so when he was doing his life tour, he got in a fight with Levity Live because he was doing a show there in the summer, and they called him like the day before that the AC broke. So he went on Instagram and trashed them. But Levity Live is like a real stop for a ton of comedians. Ari Spears plays there, and I actually want to produce there with them. I'm stopping there on my way back, just trying to cold call them.
Really?
Yeah, because it's in Muncie. I want to do a Jewish show there.
Dude, that would rock. Just saying, I would. We don't get anything out here.
Yeah,
we get nothing out here.
But so Schultz's fight with Bam was different. He interviewed Trump, and then they canceled his special taping, which is a huge deal, because you invest a lot of money before the actual taping into. You got to pay people to come out, like look at the space, and here's where the cameras are going to go. And he had done that already. He had scoped out the whole place, so he probably lost a lot of. I mean, he'll be fine. Don't worry. I'm not delivering Tomchei Shabbos to Andrew Schultz, but he lost a lot of money on that. And they basically canceled it without saying it because he had Trump on a podcast, which he wasn't even like Rogan that gave him an endorsement or anything. He was just like making jokes.
Platforming.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They kept saying that about me and Flatbush Girl, like, well, you're platforming her, you know.
Nah, come on. You should have everything.
I don't know what the platforming thing is. I don't agree with that. I guess if the guy's like really like running around saying I hate Jews, and then maybe I don't want to talk to the guy, but
I don't know. You should be able to talk to anyone, really.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
I mean,
are you a huge comedy fan also on
Massive.
top of it? Massive, because you're throwing names out. And I'm. That's probably the only thing I'm a fan of is
Massive
comedy. Like
fan.
I don't.
But different. Like I would rather. Like you say, you listen to Norm Macdonald. Like you've heard all his bits like multiple times. That I do that much. Like I do a lot of Chazara. My favorite special, Shane Gillis live in Austin. His first special. Oh my God. I've listened to it like 10 times. I'd rather listen to Nate Bargatze that I know live, that I know by heart. Again, try to study the nuance, try to study the delivery, understand how the jokes are written, than just be a generalist and just watch every YouTube special out there. Because there's 10,000 specials on YouTube. Like
I'm committed to like listen to every freaking comedian that ever existed, besides for my Chazara. I listen because I do a lot of driving. Well, less now than I used to, and I got just YouTube going the whole time. I basically do podcasts, usually comedy podcasts. Here,
do you have another cigar I could?
Yeah, what do you want to try? I do podcasts. I do audiobooks.
Oh, a fatter one.
Which
yeah, nice.
Take a fat one. Try one of these. These are potluck. I don't know what you can. This is actually really good.
Oh, this Connecticut one.
This is a Cameroon, Nub Cameroon. Anyway, I do podcasts. I do my YouTube is like straight comedy. It's just like that's the whole algorithm.
Right, but there's a lot of. I mean, I shouldn't say this as a comedian because you never. But there's a lot of bad comedy out there. Terrible comedy out there. So,
it's very brutal. So, but I will tell you that I'm a brutal critic in terms of like if I start a special, and if I'm not laughing within the first 2 minutes, I'm pretty much out.
that's why it's hard. Yeah.
It's very hard. Like I'm a people.
What was
say,
the last special you watched that like really hit for you? That was like that was a banger.
The last one, jeez. I can't even think of it. 1 second. I don't know. I
Right.
mean,
That's my point.
yeah, really, because it's too much.
Meaning the amount of specials that you could be like, oh my God, like this one is like important to me. This one, like that. The amount of specials I have that like the person I marry is gonna have to watch isn't that many. It's probably like between 5 and 10 specials.
I'm not a huge fan of specials because sometimes a special will be really special, but a lot of times the special will be a couple of great 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather watch in a 5-minute clip than the whole special.
Right.
Like,
Well, that's why I enjoy live comedy at comedy clubs way more. I don't go to like I don't go to like Levity Live. I won't see like Seinfeld for an hour. Like I want to go to a comedy club, see like 5 different comedians each give me their best 10 minutes that they're working on.
Right.
It's the way comedy was meant to be listened to in a small room with a packed audience. It's just
too much. A special is a little too much for me. That says, like when I think of that Jew special, it actually, I enjoyed it the second time more than the first time. Like I was enjoying, like, first of all, he's presenting all these Jewish ideas in a, do you have the lighter?
Yeah,
he has all these Jewish ideas and he's giving it to non-Jews. There was a guy.
in a way that it's relatable. It's wildly impressive.
It's genius. Do you know a guy, David Finkelstein? I think, here, I have it. Do you have a...
David Finkelstein?
He literally was nobody.
I'm sure if I like went on like Jewish Community Watch or something, I could find
No,
him.
you have to watch. He literally has maybe 15 minutes online. That's all he's got.
He's a comedian?
Comedian for a very short time. He's been out for years. But I thought you might know him because there's very few people who make Jewish comedy relatable to everybody. And his comedy is straight Jewish. He has a whole thing about Nagia and like touching, like he's like this whole thing that he can't touch even his wife until he gets married to her. And like he's explaining that.
Oh, the guy with the black hat?
The guy with the black hat.
Yeah. I love that guy. Yeah.
Incredible, right?
What happened to him? He fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, he stopped. He's a regular job now.
He's from?
Oh, he was from when he was doing that. I don't know what he is right now. But
I just assumed he stopped because he was from.
No, it's for sure not why he stopped.
Interesting.
So I know a little bit on the inside there.
I remember that was iconic when I was a little kid. I remember watching that one on Gotham.
It was incredible. He had it was like 3 different videos and it was just one set.
He has this bit about touching the cashier.
Yeah,
to get his
of course I want change. Yeah. That was the best line of all time. Crazy.
I haven't touched a girl in 10 years.
You touch the girl ever. He's like, you get married, and then finally I shake my wife's hand. Nice to meet you. Because he can't touch. Anyway, he has a whole bit about how that people don't appreciate how cool he is because he wears his hat sideways.
Oh my gosh.
It's incredible. He's like
that bit like frustrates me a little bit because like he says that joke in Gotham to a room full of Goyim and they laugh at it. They're like, this is funny. I'm like, you guys don't even get the joke.
You don't
like if you grew up in like yeshivish culture, you're like, this is so funny.
I think if you can make someone laugh about your own culture,
yeah,
it's like you need that lighter again. You got to pump that lighter. But it's the thing is, one of the things that I watch everybody is that I get to discover Shane Gillis before anybody else discovers Shane Gillis because he has one stupid YouTube video pops up. I'm like, oh my God. Andrew Schultz, I was like, his first couple of bits were funnier than anything he's done since. I don't mean to say it, like his pyramid bit.
Yeah, pyramid is iconic. I try to say that. I try to say that one at the Seder, but you can't say that for it at the Seder.
You can't say it at the Seder. No, he had
his best bit. Again, when he was a really young comedian, I think. And when I say best, I think it's the most creative one and relatable is the radiator bit in New York City.
Oh yeah, with the clang clang. And then he
and
does
the super.
the-
Oh my god.
I actually think his best bit is the food, because that when he talks about how good food is only from
In countries where they abuse women.
because that was like racy, like that was great, and he did it in a way that you can't not laugh.
Well, he's been canceled and uncanceled. All these guys have been canceled and uncanceled so many times. That's like the real. That's really making it the gvura in any art form is to like Gillis getting canceled by SNL and then them being like, "You're too goddamn funny. We have to have you host." Like being uncanceled by the same people that canceled you.
Right.
So Schultz had that also. Schultz's first special, I think it was Netflix. He had to buy it back.
Really?
Because so basically, Schultz's first special came out right when Roe v. Wade was overturned,
Okay.
and he has some dominant abortion jokes in there.
Okay.
So the stream, I want to say Netflix, but I'm not 100% sure. The streamer said, "We're gonna have to take out these abortion jokes." And to his credit, he said, "This is my comedy. I don't cut anything." So they made him buy back his special, and he actually ended up doubling what he made, what he would have
Right.
made with the streamer. And now his next one is coming out on Netflix.
And they're bringing him back. The first
Yeah.
person who ever really did that was Norm Macdonald, when he got invited back to host SNL after they fired him. Do you know about this?
I was too young.
Nobody gets on.
No, I've heard of it.
It's
but-
one of the greatest bits of all time. He gets up his monologue and he basically says they fired him for not being funny. So there's only two options because now he's hosting. So either he got real funny or the show is just terrible. It's like stop being funny.
Which is funny because it was funny when he hosted it. It's not funny anymore.
Right, that's true. So that was one of the greatest bits of all time. But I mean, I don't know. I see it as I would love to do that. It's a total different career and everything, and I don't even know if I like making people laugh. I just
No one likes
imagine-
making people laugh.
What?
That's the myth. The comedians that get to go up there and just like, "Oh, I love like bringing joy to people." That's bullshit.
not the joy to people.
No, you like the
Validation.
the rush you get of like it validates. It's the most immediate validation for your work, right? Just like when you get that laugh, you're like, "Oh, I wrote something funny." There's no more like immediate validation that in life, like putting work into something. You work on a real estate project. You work even on music. Like you don't really know. It takes months and like the feedback is so like you don't know until it hits years later, except for
Right.
comedy. When like you say the joke and a second later the room erupts and you're like, "Oh, I'm the man."
You got that.
Yeah.
So in my field, it's like I have bomb session with somebody, and then
Right, you're in the
6
worst
years
field for
later, I get
validation.
sober.
Not even because you have bomb session with 100 people, 90 of them overdose. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I'm saying the attrition rate in rehab is insane.
Yeah,
Like the amount of people that
not mine.
Yeah, actually.
It's freaking crazy. At least 70, close to 80% are killing it today.
Really?
I got guys getting married, living lives. It's the craziest thing you ever see in your life. We've changed the whole thing. I'm hoping the world just goes, this is crazy, because it's not even hard.
Do you think it has to do with Frumkeit at all? Like you being raised from or anything? Like anything?
Yeah.
Like, can you elaborate?
Well, it's community based. So the idea of addiction is this core belief that I am unlovable, and that's the core belief of addiction. So if I'm unlovable, then I gotta spend all my time either making you love me or figuring out something else to be able to deal with with the world.
Okay.
That's the best way to say it. It's like, and comedians would probably understand this a lot because a lot of instant gratification in comedy. But the idea is that all of us need an internal self-esteem to make ourselves feel better in this incredibly difficult world. So we're like constantly making ourselves feel better. And if you're really healthy, you can do that without anything else. But if that's not working, like your schemas, your deepest beliefs are that I am unlovable and there's no reason for me to be here in this world, then I need to use something external to make myself feel better. Like, how could I put something in to make that work? That's the whole thing. So it's
With all addictions.
with all addictions.
Drugs, pornography, alcohol, everything.
Right. I even say that if you strip away all addictions, everything is a people addiction. Everything is the validation you're talking about. People looking at you and going, you're the best. Because that's all we're looking for. So I can't get that because it's really exhausting to walk into a room. If you ever meet addicts, you'll find out they're the most charming people you ever met in your life.
Very charismatic.
They're very charismatic. And the reason is because they desperately need every person in that room to say they love them, because they don't even have an internal thing saying, I'm all right. So if you say, an addict walks into a room, 20 people in that room, and 19 of them said, wow, you're awesome. But one of them said, like, yeah, I don't really love you so much. That's all you think about.
Right.
Because you have to control all the people, and then it gets exhausting. So you do drugs, sex or love relationships, and you just come up with all these other external things to make yourself feel better. But the whole core, what?
No, sorry, I finished, and then I had to follow up.
The whole core is that I need to feel lovable, which only really happens one point in your life where you get that feeling of I'm all right, which is like 0 to like 1 year old, where everybody gives you unconditional love for like a full year. You could be crapping your diaper and crying all night, and nobody cares. They just love you. It's like really the only time in your life you really get this unconditional love.
I have to interrupt because I know I'm very insecure. I know it looks like I've never smoked a cigar before. It's just my mouth is so small. I'm struggling with this one.
You want a smaller one?
No. I just want everyone on camera to know that I do like cigars. I look like an insecure Mislaibeled, like trying to be cool right now. It's fumbling with the cigar.
There was nothing. Can I tell you a crazy story about? We'll weave. When first time I smoked cigarettes,
Yeah.
it was a little bit later because I was kind of anti-smoking, and I had started like being a rebel very young. But all my friends were smoking and doing drugs, so I was doing some.
Where'd
of
you
the
grow
stuff.
up?
I grew up in Far Rockaway.
Okay.
So the first time, so for years I'm observing my friends smoking and stuff like that, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and she's a smoker, and I was not smoking, and finally I just sat her down like for dinner, and I was like, okay, talk to me. What's so good about smoking? Like, what's the thing that's doing it for you? Like, you're not getting high or anything. And she was explaining, and she sold it really well. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be a smoker. That was a decision I made, which I think is a weird thing to do. Well, and I didn't do the like smoke on Purim. I was like an anti-smoker. Like I didn't want to smoke cigarettes. And so but here now I was in dilemma because I decided I'm gonna be a smoker. But if you ever watch yeshiva buckers starting to smoke, it's like this. Like they're dying, right? And I'm like, I'm not gonna be that guy. I'm too old. I was only 17, but that was too old.
A couple of weeks ago, I was actually at Ami Kozak. He had this like opening for this restaurant. He was playing there, and there was a girl there that I thought was cute. I was trying to talk to her. I saw she went out for a cigarette. So I hate cigarettes.
Right.
But like it was my only move.
It's the move.
So I went out and asked her for a cigar, and like I didn't know what I was doing.
I just choked you way down.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I got on the date, and she's like, "By the way, I know you don't smoke."
Yeah, it's obvious to everybody. So I'm talking to her, and I make this decision, and I realize here's the problem: my lungs can't handle smoke. I can't go out into town. I was in Israel at the time. I'm like, I can't go out and be a smoker of cigarettes and coughing for the next month. I can't do that. So I came up with a solution, and it was go buy a pack of cigarettes and smoke the entire pack and cough it down and like.
Oh, you like earned your smoking addiction. You're just like
I'm being a smoker now. It wasn't like I'm gonna smoke one cigarette. I'm a smoker now. So I went and bought a pack, and I was living in Harnov at the time, and I sat in a bench.
Doing what? Were you learning?
No, not at that time. I eventually went to.
I'm saying you were in Colo for a while.
I did Colo also. This is 17 years old.
Oh, okay,
this is I was a kid. I did Colo later. Interestingly, like I was married for like 5 years before I went back to Colo. No one really knows that.
Where'd you learn?
I went to Ruach HaTorah in Brooklyn for like 2.5 years or something like that. It was just because I was like, I'm making enough money at night and support myself during the day. I'm very anti-Colo. That's a whole nother discussion. I'm not a fan of people getting paid for learning, so I didn't get paid for learning, but I sat in Colo. So it was interesting. I don't know if you call it Colo. I learned when I was married. No one paid me, so I didn't get it. Anyway, so the idea was I went to this bench across from the Yar Yerushalayim, the forest, and I choked down a pack of cigarettes in one shot.
And then
I coughed and couldn't breathe, and the next day I bought another pack and I was good to go.
Nice.
I like prepared myself.
All right, kids, you heard it here. That's how you.
This is how you do it. Don't be the loser.
What's the
That explains, by the way, my whole personality. If you broke that down as a therapist, you'd like, oh, I get you completely.
Yeah.
That whole story.
what have you seen as the hardest addiction to break?
The hardest addiction that I've seen, well, it's between like sex addiction or food addiction. One of those two.
Because you can't go cold turkey.
You can't go cold turkey. You got to control it.
Right.
I consider drugs and alcohol actually one of the easier addictions, and people get upset at me because you accomplish a lot to get off it. But you could go your entire life without ever drinking and drink again and live a completely normal life.
Well, I'm not convinced you could go your whole life without drink, but I guess I'm not.
You could. You could do it, and it's fine. You cannot do it without food or sex. You can't do it.
Right.
So you basically got to now, have a relationship with someone, but not use it addictively. It's incredibly difficult. It's like literally like I'll smoke crack a little bit sometimes, because it's good for me. Like that's ridiculous. It's very, very hard. So those are probably the hardest. But what I'm saying, the reason why the programs that I work is that what I do is we just go back, because I believe that the whole problem with addiction is that it's a developmental issue. It's all about the fact that some trauma happened to you that puts you back into that baby state where you're like, am I lovable? Am I not lovable? Where most people in the world already kind of know that they're lovable. So they walk around with it. It's internalized. But trauma breaks that and makes you think you're not lovable. So what we do is in all these programs is like we just go enormously into this unconditional love stuff. Not real unconditional love, but almost as close to unconditional love. And the whole philosophy is like the best way to describe it is like a Shiva house. We call it Shiva house rules, which is that if you go into a Shiva house, you don't tell the guy, hey, get up, get a job, get your act together.
Right.
Because it's ridiculous. You say the community is here to heal you. That's what's going on. So it's very community-based, which is a super frum thing. So we surround the guy with enormous amount of love. When someone comes to my program, they're like, okay, what do I do? And like, you don't do anything. We do it. When a guy's broken, the community has to heal you. So it's like we're flipping the script on what recovery looks like instead of like, work hard and then you'll get it. It's not that there's no hard work, but until you start feeling like it's worth it and I'm worth it, you're not going anywhere. So all these programs, what they do is they teach you here, this is how you make your bed, this is how you stay away from the bars, stay away from this. And then you walk out, you could last like a week, and then you're like, I don't feel good inside.
Because you're treating the symptoms, not the disease.
Right. The disease is that your love tank has got a gaping hole that's just draining every single day. There's nothing in there. You can't fill it. So they call it the gaping, the God-sized hole.
Are there secular, like non-Jewish clinicians, rehab runners, whatever, that have approached you, tried to learn from, let's say, like your model? Or
I not really secular, because the secular world doesn't know who the heck I am. But the Jewish world, in the Jewish world, well, I shouldn't say, there's definitely been secular people, but they're all in the Jewish world. It's not in the outside of the Jewish world. They come in and they're hearing this model. It's like very, very different from what they're teaching. And I even get a lot of flack for it, but I'm like, this is the numbers. Now, I have an advantage because I have the Jewish community that back me up. I could get a guy in, and I could have, in 5 minutes, I could have this guy go to 10 different Shabbos tables and get a tremendous amount of love.
Right.
You can't get that in the secular world. That girl you're talking about who's hilarious, she doesn't know 30 people that's going to hold her. We all know 30 people. There's a fascinating thing with it when I speak to a lot of secular rehab places, and they tell me when they get the Orthodox Jewish people in, they're like, they have like 40 people calling them. Like, what's happening here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, they usually have one person who's dumping them off and saying, fix this person so I could get rid of this problem. And in the Jewish world, you got the rabbi calling and the therapist calling and then the guy on the street calling and the Sani Perlman from the sober, community is calling, and everybody's calling and harassing them. We have a very strong community.
So I guess you got to say we do like to focus on our problems a lot.
Yeah.
For all the problems we have with addiction, with kids getting kicked out of school and all these that we love to talk about and love to blame people and try to fix, we are amazingly, we are much better off than the secular world.
Right. I'm always there. I'm like, I freaking love this community. It's amazing. It's like it's the coolest community in the world. And of course, every community has problems. I mean, we have trauma. There are people suffering, but you know what? We're like all over it.
Right.
It's crazy what's going on. You came into our place the other night. That does not exist in the non-Jewish world. Right. They have drop-in centers with that amount of love and like come on in and you just feel amazing. You're just being honored as a human being. It doesn't exist.
Right.
It doesn't exist.
Are you like at all something that worries me, I guess, when I mean like I wasn't like so well versed in this whole world until a few years ago when I just like started meeting more people about it. Obviously, unfortunately, with the access to drugs and weed and alcohol, like addictions on the up, and dopamine addiction and people just feeling like shit about themselves. Like, where's the money going to come from in the frum community to pay for all this rehab? Because it is so expensive.
It's a huge problem, and I'll tell you this. That's why this method has to change. It's not that expensive if you do it the right way. What's going on is we're spending a tremendous amount of money on stupid stuff.
Like what?
Like therapy. I don't mean to say it that way. I'm a therapist. That's what I do for a profession.
You think we're overspending on therapy?
Well, therapy is not the answer for addiction. The community is the answer for addiction. Does everybody in addiction need to go to therapy once a week? Yes. Like every person does. It's a great idea to go to therapy. But I can't therapize you out of addiction. I can't. If I do 30 sessions a week with you, you're going to walk out of that rehab, which is what happens in rehab, and they walk out and a week later they're done. Why are you spending so much money on that? When this guy needs I can make a rehab for like $3,000 a month easy.
No way.
Yeah, if I did it in like Jamaica or something like that, why not? Make a beautiful rehab. We sit there, we have non-alcoholic margaritas on the beach, and we talk about how much we love each other and hold each other and talk about recovery. I don't think you need that much money. You just got to cut out. One of the best places I know out there is a place called AZ House in Israel. It's free. You can go for free. Anybody can go for free.
Who pays for it?
He's raised his money. The whole thing costs him $200,000 a year to run a place that has 20 people at a time.
Your thing went off, but I don't know if you can.
Went off. 1 second.
Interesting. Why is Chabad so involved in rehabs? There's so many Chabad rehabs. Like in LA, like all these rehabs owned by Chabad.
There's only one rehab owned by Chabad.
Yeah?
It's just a famous rehab.
Oh, yeah?
And it's funny because Chabad, it was just one shliach who like got in the space. I shouldn't say there's one. There's another place down in Florida that's Rabbi Kessler, who's a Chabad guy. Again, all these guys were shliachs. They were just trying to make people or not from, whatever shliachs do.
Yeah.
But they, and they realized there's a space of like, there's a rehab space. All these Jewish people going to rehab, so let's get them there. So they're all on the same mission.
Gotcha.
Chabad's not getting off their freaking mission.
Yeah. You're saying the rehab is to make people from stuff.
Dude, you're a Chabad guy. You just reminded me you're a Chabad guy with this case you're dealing with the scammer.
The scammer. Oh my god.
And you did the Chabad guy.
Yeah.
That's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
Are you genuinely pissed about this scammer guy? Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah. I mean, I only lost $30, but a friend of mine lost $1,000. I don't know. Something about the injustice of it, like something really gets to me about people, like scammers in India also, that just like their whole life is just like screwing people over. It's just like, I can't deal. It made me so mad. Like even the guy that stole my phone, like I got robbed at a random gas station and like I have a new, like you call Apple, you get a new phone.
He like came over to you, he's like, give me your phone?
No, I made it sound like that when I posted on Instagram because the DMs get flooded that way. Okay. You get a lot of sympathy. But no, I left it on top of my car while I was getting gas, and a guy took it and ran off with it.
Oh my god!
But I was just like, I want to get this. Like, I don't want people like that in the world. Like that is like biarta harab mikir becha in my mind. Like they don't have like a good bone in their body. Like this guy gets up every day, finds Jewish WhatsApp groups, takes down all the numbers, and calls them and manipulates and takes advantage of the fact that we're this amazing community and that we help. But whoever, and all we need to know about them is that you're a fellow Jew, and we will help them. And he just takes advantage of that, and he's extorted that. I don't even want to know how much money. For sure, tens of thousands, maybe even six figures, from people by taking advantage of our community, and it just drove me nuts. And I was in
How does he come off? Like he comes off
pro.
as from?
He's a pro. He's a
He's a
manipulative pro. And he never gives up. He commits to the bit. He sounds like the sweetest guy. He gave me a whole Dvar Torah. He said, listen, he doesn't put pressure on you. He says, like, I don't know what kind of situation you're in. We're about to lose our house. I'm just trying to do my hishtadlus. So I figured I'd reach out to another yid. And I was like broken. I remember I was in a coffee shop in Manhattan. My friend was with me. I was like, oh my God. So I sent him I said, I'll look into it more, but you want to be like the guy who says yes. And I felt so good about myself. I'm like, I didn't research him. I just I'm a good guy. And I sent him $30. And then I go on the WhatsApp group and someone posts this article. It's a Jewish Federation, whatever, that this guy is a professional scammer. He gets into Chabad WhatsApp group, all Jewish WhatsApp groups, but primarily Chabad WhatsApp groups, looks for these numbers and hits people up. And I said, no. Like, it's not going to end here. I didn't even post the rest of it. There's a part 2 coming where I sent another one of my friends actually to impersonate the Chabad rabbi that's actually going to do the bris on him.
Followed through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he was considering it. He wanted the money. We told me at $700. He just needed to do Atafastan bris.
No, to explain. Can you explain to them?
Yeah. So basically, so this
guy
guy
calls
calls me.
to check this out on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Check out my.
What's your YouTube account?
Actually, I started it for this. Really, I had like unlisted comedy stuff for gigs on it, but Dovi Neuburger, and I just added the which I'm very proud of. It's called Stella Hype.
Stella Hype.
You know what Stella Hype is in Yiddish?
No.
Stella Hype means like don't tell anyone in Yiddish. It's like a secret.
Okay.
It's like Stella Hype, he's a rich guy. It means like he's he's under the radar. So I call it Stella Hype. So he scams me. I realized I lost the money, whatever.
So this whole thing is over $30, or you end up sending him more?
No, $30.
$30. Dude, I love it.
Since I posted the prank, which I'll get into in a second, tons of people have been reaching out to me that they gave him real money.
Really?
Yeah. And it's embarrassing, meaning it's embarrassing to get scammed. So nobody goes to their Instagram page and says, watch out for this guy, because you don't want to admit that you send $1,000 to a guy in a Christian cult in Atlanta.
Right.
But the rest of the frum community suffers because of it, because
no one's talking about it.
Now everyone's talking about it.
Right.
But so he calls me. I send him money. You send money to this guy named Mendy Helmet. So I really bought it in Crown Heights.
Who's the guy, Mendy Helmet?
I don't know. He probably made him up. But the Zelle account is mendyhelmet@gmail.com.
Okay, nice.
And I figured like mendyhelmet@gmail.com has got to be a sought after. Like you probably that's got to be a sought after email account.
Yeah.
You know how many Mendy Helmets there are in the world?
At least 1 million.
Right. So like if he has that email account, like come on.
Dude, and he had the whole Menachem Mendel thing down?
No, he studied. He knows. He's Jewish. His parents are Israeli, but he got missionized in this Christian cult. So I didn't even know what I was going to say to him when I called him. So I called him as me. I said, I feel terrible for you, but I lost a lot of money. I made up something that I lost money betting on the election. Because
right.
I just think like creative lies are like people are less skeptical.
Right.
Details.
Yeah,
details. I said, but like a Chabad rabbi I went to college with, like he deals with this kind of situation, be happy to help. And then I called him as the Chabad rabbi.
Right.
And I said, it's hashgacha, and I lathered him up in a Chabad way, like you're such a special Jew and all this and that. And I said, but I don't know if you're familiar with this custom, but it's very important to us that we redo the bris every single year by Parshas Lech Lecha. And he was like, at first he's like, what? I never heard of that. Like, whatever. He's like, can you tell me more about it? And I just told him, you come into a booth and we prick you, and it signifies our realignment with Ribono Shalom's covenant with Avram Avinu. And I only posted like 5 minutes. The truth is I was on the phone with him, 2 different conversations, 12 minutes. I was on the phone with him about 20 minutes total.
Right.
And I don't think he was ever going to do it, but he thought he would get the money.
Right.
So we kept it going. And I didn't like press him. He was the one chasing me, which was key. Like he kept on texting me like, hey Rabbi, do you know when you can send the money? Ignored him, whatever. Shabbos went through. Sunday, I reached out to him like, sorry, I had a crazy Shabbos. I had Sheva Brachos, I had a bar mitzvah. Like I pretended like I was a Chabad rabbi. I don't know if you see on the call, I'm yelling at my kids half the time.
Right.
I really wanted to sound like you are the last thing on my mind.
Right.
And then I had my friend call him, who actually does a much better impersonation than me, that I'm going to post. He calls it.
Hey, video? Oh.
Yeah, we videoed it.
Okay, but it's a phone call. He didn't go meet him.
No, but he was down to. He wanted to meet us. He's like, I'll do it. I just want to meet you guys first. I wasn't gonna go to Georgia. Like, if I really got carried away, like
We could
if I was still with Label,
totally get you a guy.
if I was still with Label and this was going on, honestly, because Label has the skills to do this, there would have been an FBI sting. We would have flown. Label would have flown down to Atlanta for this guy to meet him and get him arrested or something. He would have really committed.
Why don't you get Label to do it?
Well, it's over now. Now the guy knows.
Oh, he knows? How's he know?
I assume there's 50,000 views on Instagram. My YouTube only got 2,000 views, but someone embedded it on sorry, not on Instagram, on Twitter. It got 50,000 views.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you think he knows?
I think he knows because I tried to call him last night.
And
I want to get him on a podcast. I want to do this with him. Hear how he scams everyone. Like, I want to get to know the mind of a sociopath. Like, how do you get up in the morning knowing like you're doing this thing? Like, I want to understand it. Yeah. I want to have him on a podcast.
That'd be a great podcast.
Amazing.
I have a thing. Well, I don't. I'm not.
He's open about it. If you go on his YouTube page, he documents him. He has a podcast called Lying to Jews.
No way.
Yeah.
What's his YouTube? Can we?
Yeah, Day Life Yona, I think it's called.
Day Life Yona.
He has like 100 followers, nothing big, but like he has a 12-part YouTube series where I only watched part 1, where he outlines exactly how he gets into these WhatsApp groups. He's not a dumb guy, and how he manipulates Jews to get money.
Wow. And he did not grow up Orthodox.
No, Israeli parents. And again, I wasn't doing it to help Jews. I was trying to get a clip.
Angry.
I was mad. I thought it was a good bit. When I first was doing it, I was in my backyard. I was barbecuing with the guys. So like we were just like hanging around. It was Arab Shabbos. Was like an hour. I was like, let's call this guy. Video this. You could hear my friends in the background. They're cracking up. And then when I posted it, a lot of people reached out to me like, dude, this guy like stole a lot of money. So I'm like, let's blow this up so people know. And I think it's affected his parnassa in a big way.
Right, I'm sorry. That's bad.
Yeah.
He
might be on Tom Clay.
How's he going to pay for the Christian tuition?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard for him. This guy's struggling now because I love it. It's funny because I love those scam things. This is very specific. But I could say this is incredibly flattering for the Jewish community.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying like they're coming to us.
Yeah. One guy texted me. One guy texted me, gave him $1,000. F that, I'm still counting it towards Meister.
It's true. I have a thing that
which I hold of because like the way like the Rebbe said like Meister's for you, like for your own midos, like you still accomplish the same goal. You thought you were giving tzedakah.
I think so. I have a whole thing because my brother Shem, he's like, oh, you know Shem, you maybe you met him the other night. I don't know.
Great guy. He runs our place down there also.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, we were very nepotism. We hire as many family members as we can. No.
Well, all the greatest institutions in the world too. No?
Yeah, that's the way it's done.
Yeah.
No, he's an amazing clinician. He gets real mad. Like even if a guy's like coming to get him like for $1 on the street and he's like lying, he gets real mad about this. And I give people money on the street. Like I give my meister to people I know, but like I always have extra to give to people on the street, and I give based on their game.
Like you respect the hustle.
I respect the hustle.
Okay, so part of me, yeah.
I respect the hustle. So like there's a guy who comes to my house, and first of all, you come to my house, it's not under $5. Because just the fact that you went around and came to my house, you're gonna get more than $1. I'm not giving you $1. You're hustling. I respect the hustle. But there's one guy who shows up. I gave him a check like 10 years ago. The guy still has that check. He pulls it out every time. Like, you gave me this much when? You know? And I give the guy as much as I can because I have no idea the guy's Jewish or anything. He has a funny accent, so I have no idea. Doesn't matter to me. But like if a guy comes over and he's like not trying, I'm like, I'm gonna give you $0.25, man. You get nothing.
Yeah. So the reel I posted actually after our place was I don't know if you saw that, but this kid from our place.
Did that really happen?
Yeah. That kid, I respect it. I mean, the end didn't actually happen where he's like, I'm going to buy. I don't think he bought fentanyl that night. Right. But again, like you're saying, like addicts the kid was so charismatic. He beat me at my game. I was like, you earned this. Bro, you earned this, these $5. he's like, yeah, I need to go buy a vape. I mean, I said the whole story. He's like, I gotta go buy a vape. And I was there with Eitan Levine. He's like, haven't you like, don't you know how to scam people? Like you ask for money for food. Don't ask me like for the thing I'm not supposed to give you money for. And he like outdid me. He's like, no, like this is how I don't do drugs. And you saw me eat dinner in there. So I was like, game recognizes game. Like, you're the man.
Yeah, he's got good game.
Yeah. Also, another reason why it did bother me particularly is something you brought up. I grew up like my dad's a Rav, so he runs a communal fund.
Right.
My dad gives out. I mean, we're not rich people, but my dad gives out hundreds of thousands of dollars in stock every year. Other people's money, but he is the shliach, so to speak. And so people from every night, people from Eretz Yisrael coming, collecting. It was one of the hardest parts of my childhood, actually, because I had to see, because some of the mushalachim are ruthless, and it was not the only time, but it was the main time I had to see my dad like get angry or lose his temper, and like he really get harassed by these people, and that he was just trying to help. And like my dad is like this angel tzaddik, and like to see him have to like not get aggressive, but to like be difficult with people was so hard for me. But he had to do it because there's a lot of scammers in the Mishalachim world also.
Right.
So like I grew up with hearing like people would take his checks and add zeros or just like make up stories. A lot of the drivers of the Mishalachim were not great guys. And that was like, I wouldn't say trauma because like I'm blessed I don't have real trauma, but that was like a low point in my childhood. So like when people steal stucco money and like impersonate people, like that really, like at my like inner child, it's very personal to me.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So I forgot about that. That's really where it
You see,
came
when
from.
you talk to a therapist, it all comes out.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Wow. So
And I was dealing with it a lot. Like as I got older, like I would be the guy that answered the door for Mishalachim and, you know, talk to them, get the tuda and everything like that. And they used to yell at me, get in fights with me because like we were pretty strict about like if you didn't have like a reliable
right.
certification.
Well, I'll tell you someone I won't give to. Let's see if this is about as specific as we get. The guy on the exit to the George Washington Bridge, when you're getting off that exit and there's someone who stands right in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And he asks for money. That guy makes traffic.
So I
will not give that guy.
with one exception.
Okay.
It depends how funny their sign is. The one that's holding the sign that says "Need money for booze, drugs, and hookers," I give him every time.
Every time.
That guy's hilarious.
That's the guy you got to give.
Yeah. Even if he's holding up traffic, I'm like mad respect.
Well, okay, man. Okay, fine.
But otherwise, yeah, if I have like a Kit Kat bar, I'll give it to them.
Oh, they don't want the Kit Kat bar.
Sometimes.
No, they'll take it.
Yeah.
They're like, come on, how is this going to buy drugs?
I mean, like, no one has cash anymore, so I just don't have.
It's true.
You're old school. You probably carry cash sometimes.
I don't really.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder. I actually carry cash to give out money.
But to the point now that like the real pros, like the guys who come up to you at like Ne'imas Achayim and the Brooklyn wedding halls, and they have credit card machines.
Fantastic.
Insane.
I would never give it to a credit card machine. I just think there's a scam in there.
The funniest thing, Mishalachim literally have credit card machines.
It's pretty awesome. I actually had a guy that I worked with. This is pretty wild. Where I had to walk in therapy. I had to help him go to work every day because he was a Mashalach. And he was having such a problem with shame and he couldn't do it. He was struggling with his work. So I had to we had to do the therapy to help him get to work so that he didn't feel shame about begging for money.
Right.
Because that's what he's working on. It's the crazy thing about therapy is you got to work on what they want to work on.
That's hilarious.
You're like, stop begging. It's so stupid. He's not a beggar anymore. I'll just say that.
Thank God.
I don't think it's because of me, but I have this funny thing that you tell a story, like you make a lecture or whatever, and like it's like some wild intervention I do, and then so I end every story with like, and now he's got 7 kids and learns in Kyle and B'nai Brak. And I always say that, and like no one really gets that I'm just cracking a joke there, but I got a phone call like a couple months ago, and some guy's like, I just want to let you know, you saved my life back in the day, and I want to let you know, I run a Kyle and B'nai Brak. I have 5 kids. I'm like, you're my story. That was, I haven't spoken to you, and I have to give you a car time, and he was
That's amazing.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
Anyway, I respect the hustle, but I definitely respect you going at them also.
Oh yeah,
I think
that was
that's
a lot of fun. I think I'm gonna do it again. I gotta find my next. I don't know.
Is it illegal?
for me?
No, for that guy.
That's what I was thinking. I don't know if it is. He's calling Jews up. He's telling them that he needs money.
They send money. It's like his version.
Yeah, I
of
mean, he's
all-
lying about
it's
his life
version of
situation.
OnlyFans. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Jewish OnlyFans.
Literally.
I'll send you a text. You send me $200.
Only Mishalachim.
Only Mishlachim. Dude, that's what you should open. You know?
Yeah.
You be like, you have like Mishlachim, and they tell their story, and you could like, if their story's great, such a great idea.
So I mean, some Mishalachim are dynamite. Are amazing.
Amazing.
Incredibly talented people.
I love it.
Yeah.
They can make a lot of money. All right. Okay. What else do you need to talk about? It's very important.
I don't know. What do you want to talk about? What were your parents like very involved in the therapy game? Like, why are all your siblings like very passionate?
It's
about
pretty wild, right?
it?
My mother was a therapist.
Yeah. Okay.
Father's definitely not a therapist. My mother was a therapist for a lot of years. We grew up. So I say the best way to make a therapist is with a real good mix of trauma and love. Make a good therapist, really good therapist. All therapists have been through major trauma, but not the good ones. The good ones have to have kind of the mix. Like they got to be confused about whether they're loved or not. So those are the best ones. They're codependent enough to help 1,000 people, but they're not. They're healthy enough to know what healthy looks like. So that's how it is. So we have like, I think it's like we're talking 7 of my immediate siblings are basically doing
Wait, you're one of
therapy.
how many?
8.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You grew up in a wild house, also.
Crazy house.
Wow.
Wildness. It was the house.
Are your parents involved in our place now?
No. Well, my mother just passed away.
Oh,
so
sorry.
that's the sad part. No, sorry.
All good.
She just passed away. I'm actually in the year. So she's not. She moved to Israel, but she was a therapist. And
My
then
mom
we all-
actually hasn't been to one of my shows yet because she's been in Avelis. Just started.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So she doesn't.
Well,
How's it like to have your mom come to a show?
no. So my I mean,
Did she ever come at all? She's never been.
She came. Oh, my second show, which was horrible. It was the Young Israel of Upper West Side. I thought I was ready to be a comedian and I wasn't. So I produced the show and like just bombed. She was at that one actually. It was before my grandfather's nifter. It's unique. I mean, my parents are very like text me before every show, text me after every show. I don't want them at most shows. That's on me. Either. Right. I mean, a nightclub is not a place for them. It's not a chavdek for my father to be there. If it's a from community, it's very distracting a lot because people know them and they're just like, they like the drama of it. They're trying to see like, oh, how disappointed are they by this joke? So it distracts from the show, which I don't like.
Right.
My dad's come to shows sometimes where like he'll hide in the kitchen. Or like I did one in like a restaurant and he hid in the kitchen just to listen to my set, which was cool. But they're like the main topic of most of my jokes.
Right.
And yeah, it's funny though. It's very like nice. When I was growing up, anytime my dad used to leave to give a shiur, so my mom would say this Yiddish phrase to him. It's called "Zos taben chen ba'gat ba'leit." It's the
translate.
it's the so in Hebrew it's Tim Sechem Seichel Tov B'nei Elokim V'dav. It just basically means like knock him dead. It means you should find favor in the eyes of God, man, do everything good. And when I was a little kid, I started saying that whenever they would leave the house. So now
They say it to you?
yeah, before I have a show.
Wow.
Which is funny because it translates literally as you should like make the people happy and you should make God happy in your set. And I'm like, Ima, I'm gonna make the people happy. I can't speak for God though. I don't know if he's gonna shep nachas from this set at Broadway Comedy Club.
Yeah. 'Cause you're not on any mission with this comedy. You just want laughs.
Not on any mission. It's not like a proof from kids that they could be comedians at all. Not at all. I just love comedy. I like the attention. This is what I want to do.
So I got this whole thing when Matisyahu cut his beard off.
Yeah.
This is a real weave. But when Matisyahu cut his beard off, I almost cried. Now, it's weird because he has his own personal life. Like, what the heck would it bothered me? But it bothered me because I was like, I want to believe that from people can make it to the top of whatever they want to make it to the top of. and I'm like, oh man, he can't be from and do this.
I don't believe that though. I think that's an
You
illusion.
can't believe what?
I don't believe from people you could do everything without compromising your values.
You can't.
No, you can't.
It makes
I don't
me
know if he's a
sad.
good example. I mean, he had a number one. I don't think the two are related with him. He had a hit song. He had a Billboard top 10 song before he, let's call it, went off the derech.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, before
One day was before. One day he still had
Yeah,
the
he was real popular.
Yeah, but I don't know his personal life, but like, if someone were to ask me, like, I haven't made it, right, at all. I'm a Jewish comedian, but if someone were to ask me, like, can you make it in, like, the top of the comedy game and be from, like, absolutely not.
No?
I mean, you could be part of the from community, but, like, compromise, like, you got to hang out in places where from people shouldn't hang out. Like, yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I use language in comedy clubs that, like, from people aren't allowed to use.
Right.
Not sexually explicit words, but I curse. You're not allowed to curse. I don't know.
It makes me sad.
It doesn't make me sad. I
It
think
doesn't make you sad.
like in sports also, like there's from people in sports now. It's amazing. They're making a big Kiddush Hashem because they are big mention and they come from the from world and they are from. But
if you think if they made it to the top, they couldn't stay from.
you can't play on Shabbos. Like, you're not allowed to.
Right.
So.
Although, what's his name? That basketball player that plays in the show, he just walks to the game. That's his thing. What's his name?
Ryan Terrell. Yeah, I'm friends with his brother.
Dude, I love that guy.
Yeah, he's great.
He makes me so proud. I don't know.
He's injured now.
Is he?
Yeah.
It sucks.
He's playing in Israel now.
Is he? Oh, that's so cool.
His brother's
See, I don't know anything about sports, so I feel like having him on would be like, I'd love to try to get him on, but like, I'm like, I don't know what I would talk about. Like, so when you jump, you jump high? Like, I don't know what to say.
It's good. It's good. Jump.
It's good. The basketball goes in. I don't know what to say, but
I don't know. I mean, also, like, comedy, you have to be like, if you were really like, I'm taking this like from comedy route right now. Like, I would love to again like get back into mainstream comedy, but there's no money in mainstream comedy for the first 10 years of your career, and there's money in from comedy in the first 10 years. So
pretty wild.
But I don't really hustle like the club circuit as much as I should if I was like trying to get on Kill Tony and Rogan and those things, because you can't pay yeshiva tuition and like just be making $50 at a nightclub.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Wow. But there's never been a from guy who made it to the top in comedy.
Oh, I mean, now like Elon Gold is, I wouldn't say he's the top, but he's
right.
He had his own podcast. He has his own sitcom on CBS. He's been on late night a bunch of times, like specials. So
how does he do it? I don't know. I don't know why this bothers me so much. It really bothers me a lot.
So yeah, I mean, I've opened for
How
him.
can something be true if it can't be integrated into everything? That's kind of what I think. I don't know why that bothers me so much.
You're saying like, how could this be true if you can't be a comedian?
I mean, the idea of Judaism that I grew up with is that like we are living in this world and this is how we live and there's no limitations to where you could go. But when I think about like the Jewish people that I really like, I'm admiring, they're all not from. I mean, in the world, they're all.
I think there's totally limitations. Even the ones that like, I have a couple friends in Hollywood that are Balei Tshuva and really Erlich Jews,
right,
and really made it far in Hollywood. But I think they would tell me, I don't want to speak for them, that I mean, like they made it when they weren't from, and then they became from. I don't know if they would tell me that they could have gone where they got if they were from the whole time. I just don't like, and I don't know if that like. I disagree with you. Like the way, like I guess I grew up differently. Like the beauty is in the sacrifice. Like you believe that this thing is so true and so beautiful and so deep and meaningful that you sacrifice the greatest thing in the world for it. Like that, our generation very much has shifted like to thank you Hashem culture where you could have everything and everything's amazing and you're tzaddik no matter what.
Right.
Whereas like our parents' generation was much more like glorifying the sacrifice. Like the guy that gave up his job every Shabbos for Shabbos and like didn't eat because of that.
That was the hero.
Yeah.
Now the hero is that you could become a billionaire and kill it, and you could get whatever you want. You could have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
So maybe that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I mean, like, I consider myself from. I keep Shabbos. I keep kosher. Like, I never do a gig on Shabbos. But if you wanted to tell me like the ideal form of a Jew of a Ben Torah, no, there's no way you could be a comedian. Like, you're just like not. That's not what it is.
Right. Different question. This is more personal for me. I'm saying, are there people that you've seen that really sucked at comedy and then became great? Like, or is like everybody? It's a natural talent, or it's just. I was speaking to Ami, and Ami was like, "This is something you work on. Like, you just get better and better.
You got to work really hard, and I'm not the hardest worker. Like, I've worked hard, but I definitely have a long way to go. I don't think anybody who's like made it is not talented, doesn't have an extreme level of talent. You might not think they're funny, but they are for an audience,
right?
You know, like you might not understand the jokes. Like let's say like black rooms, they call it. Like,
what's a black room?
It sounds racist, but it's just like comedy clubs in black communities, or like black humor is like a little different. So like some people might not find that funny, but they just don't relate to the culture as much. It's definitely a lot more artificial than you realize. It's a lot more manufactured, some people's careers, but they're still very talented. Like Cat Williams did that whole interview on Shannon Sharp where he was talking about industry plants and things like that. Yeah, I mean, there are people that have had money put into their careers and are successful because of that, but they are incredible. Like, it could be that their sense of humor is not the thing, but they are charismatic. They have a way with the crowd, and it could be they have writers, but there's no one that's made it that far. There's no one that has a special that doesn't have a gift that most people don't have, I believe, I think. And there are a ton of famous comedians that I don't laugh at. For sure.
I shouldn't have changed my career yet.
No, I'm saying like there's no way to know whether or not.
Well, it could be. Listen, I make lectures and a lot of people laugh. You know, when I make jokes during lectures. But I think lectures are cheating. Because everything's so serious, it's easy to crack a joke and get everybody going. Because it's...
Yeah, I mean, like...
there's tension in the room.
Yeah, well, people think about, like... people say, like, oh, my God, your dad's so funny. I'm like, he's only funny because of the premise that he is a big rabbi. So anything he says that is not rabbinic, you laugh at.
Right.
I think he gets a lot of cheap laughs for that. I give him a hard time. Like, he's gotten away with some terrible jokes.
Dude, there's a bit with this guy. What's the guy's name? Robinson?
Yeah, I love.
You know the bit you think?
Where he goes to the preacher after the funeral. He's like, just wanted you to know, like, you only got laughs because it was a funeral. I love that bit. I relate to it. So I just posted on my Instagram, actually. Like, that's what it's like having.
You did?
Yeah.
I love that guy.
People tell me my dad's funnier than me all the time. Like, he's not. Like, he just, like, he could say anything that's not rabbinic and you'll think it's funny.
Also, I think when you get into a comedy club, you're proud. Like, it's like all the pressure. You got to make me laugh right now. Make me laugh. He's not getting that pressure. He's
not
like,
at all.
say the speech. If I laugh, I laugh. If I don't, I don't.
It's gravy.
It's just gravy.
Yeah.
It's cheating.
People are paying attention to you even if you're not being funny.
Right. Wow. All right. Okay, but you're saying this is not a mission of yours. This is you just want to be a great comedian.
Oh, I mean, that's a mission of mine. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the mission.
It's not like I'm not on like some Kiddush Hashem journey. So I would love to make a Kiddush Hashem if I could, but it's not like, that's not why I'm doing this.
Are you doing that? You're doing a lot of these.
I don't like when people get like, when someone does something unique, they very often get pigeonholed into that. Like, oh, he's doing it because he's right. That's not me. I'm doing it because I like attention. I love the craft. It's an interesting chat. Like writing, I love writing jokes and performing. I love Frumkeit also, but
right. You've done a bunch of shows you're producing shows that are like all Jewish and it's like for Israel, or something like that. Is that just because that's what?
No, that's the way that like it kind of shook out. Interesting.
Right.
Like I got into comedy, and then I started doing comedy probably a month before October 7th hit, and then there wasn't so much room for Jewish comedians at the time. And then we actually found that there was a huge need for comedy and people to wind down and stuff. And it was just like there was a lot of causes that needed money in Israel for October 7th Relief Fund. So I just ended up partnering with them, and there was a need for Jewish unity and pride and all that fun stuff in different places. So
Right.
I found that like people needed a night out, but they felt guilty doing anything. My dad actually, one of the reasons he won't go to my shows at certain times is because he takes the whole like situation in Israel extremely like to heart personally, like gives him a lot of agmas nefesh. So like, and he doesn't think it's appropriate to go for him to be seen at a comedy show, like while Israel's at war, which I totally understand. But I think a lot of people who genuinely need a break and just felt guilty, like not doing anything super intense, not like spending any of their free time not saying Tehillim, this kind of gave them an excuse. It was like fundraisers for these causes.
So it just like played out that way.
Yeah. Kind of played out that way. And now I have this niche in the frum community where like there is a great need for it, because like there are frum people that love stand-up comedy but also don't want to compromise their values of like what's said at a comedy show. They, to their credit, they don't want to be at a nightclub in New York City where people are talking about all the good stuff that comedians talk about.
Right.
So then what do they do to see live comedy? And I'm trying to create an avenue, again, not in a mission way, just in a taking advantage of the market way, where from people could go to a show and not feel like they're compromising on their values.
That's true.
Right.
In those shows, everybody has to be clean. It's like clean sets.
It's like edgy. It's like PG-13. It's clean compared to a nightclub. Like, you know, like people make jokes about like the mikvah, but like they won't get like graphic.
Right.
Like comedy in comedy clubs in the city and in Austin and in like real comedy districts is like the dirtiest entertainment, even without being explicit in terms of what you're seeing. It is the dirtiest form of entertainment, I think, out there. Like the things that are said on stage are things that you could not have even like imagined in your wildest dreams. Like people are, especially female comedians, are wildly graphic.
What's the deal? Female comedians always had to be dirty. I mean, I feel like it's a cheap trick. It's like the rabbi trick.
It's not a cheap trick. It's only cheap people if the jokes don't land. But if the jokes are funny, then they're funny. I don't know. That's a stereotype. I mean, I know female comedians that aren't dirty. Like Ashley Morris has never said a dirty word in her life, and she's hilarious. Kathleen Madigan, I don't know if you ever watched her.
Yeah.
Unbelievable stand-up comedian.
Very funny.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Very funny. But then there's like, again, like there's an expectation in comedy to be self-deprecating and to call out the obvious about what people are saying about you. Right. So if I get on a stage and I'm wearing a yarmulke, I'm gonna need in order to make people comfortable laughing at Jewish jokes, I'm gonna need to address the elephant in the room, that I look like an Orthodox Jew and I look like a landlord and I don't look like a comedian.
Right.
Some people will call that cheap. I think it's easing the crowd. So I think it could be that, and again, I don't know, but it could be some female comedians feel that need to, like if you're a hot girl and you're walking to a comedy club, you feel the need to address what everyone's thinking about you.
Yeah.
To kind of call that out.
The truth is, if something's funny, I let everything go. Like, it's
right.
Like,
yeah.
I say, someone asked me the other day, like, well, is there a type of comedy you don't like? And I'm like, I don't really love racist stuff unless it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, if it's funny, I don't know what to do with myself. Like,
Yeah. You should never be racist unless the joke lands.
Unless it's funny. If it's funny, you're like, all right, fine. I'll look the other way.
Right.
I also have the same thing with like marriage jokes. Like, I'm really like, I consider like, I guess when I first got married, I was very surprised, like even during Shabbat Brachas, like the amount of marriage jokes people were saying. And I'm like, dude, I just got married. Like, give me a minute here. Like,
So
you're
funny.
talking about me not, getting any, like, right away. Like, take a chill, bro. I'm excited right now. So I was always, like, bothered by that. And for a long time, I was, like, I would stay away. I'm like, I don't want to. But then if you're really funny, like, all right, it goes. It's really because they're not funny. Certain things I don't like if they're not funny.
It's funny you say that about marriage, because I always have this joke with Ami and like the frum comedians I play with, most of them are married, and like there were a bunch of shows in a row last year. I remember where I was playing with Ami Kozak, Ellie Leibowitz, Elon Gold was at a bunch of them, and so much of their sets revolve around because Jewish marriages are very relatable and they're funny, they're great. And I'm just like the young single guy, like just like talking about just like going on dates in the city and like things like that, and football and things that relate to single people. And like whenever we're in the green room, behind, like after every show. I'm like, you guys make me never want to get back.
Yeah. It's like, what the hell?
And I know it's all good for like they thank God like they're always like, no, like we just make fun of the funny parts, but it's just like funny how I get up there talk about single life, and then they just go and rip on their wives for like an hour, and I'm like, every time I come to one of these shows, I'm like, I'm never getting married. Like,
Right.
it was a joke. It was a joke. I would love to marry you, whoever's watching.
Whoever's watching, I'd like to marry you.
Yeah.
Do you get all these shit dates because of your little bit of fame?
Not
Not a little bit of fame. You're very famous.
Mislaibeled. Definitely, I got a lot from like traction from that. Yes and no. You know, like from people who don't want to marry a comedian, like they're nervous about money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it gets you on the date, which is good because once I'm on a date with a girl, I feel like I could win her over, as much as like from girls like attention and fame and like intrigue. They're intrigued by certain things.
Right.
They like money more than anything else. So I think that's like a big concern for a lot of them. But yeah.
But you say I'm a promoter too.
Oh yeah,
Making
I think I'll be fine. I just like, I don't know, in the world I came, again, I didn't grow up like track as yeshivish as you, so like I came half in the modern world where it's like you got to marry like an investment banker sort of. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you have to. Dude, all my kids went to non-Orthodox schools, and you have to be very wealthy.
yeah, you do. It's sad.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
I was, you could have years where it's $100,000 tuition.
easy.
I don't know if you want to get serious.
Yeah, but the truth is, like, I see a lot of people who ideologically are going to don't line up with the yeshivish world that are going to end up sending their kids to school there because it's much cheaper.
Right. If you have a comedian he's trying to say something, this is the Dave Chappelle problem I call. When you start like wanting to say a statement, like, do you get less funny? I'm curious with that.
I think that's a perfect example. No,
That's when I see Dave Chappelle, I'm like, this is a guy I really used to think he was hilarious.
his last few specials haven't been funny.
And honestly, I don't mind his anti-Semitism if he was funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you could be funny about it, it's bad. It's bad. I don't like.
So I think Dave Chappelle, like, I watched Dave Chappelle's old specials. I'm like, oh my God, this was the height of comedy.
He's great.
He could say he was the greatest storyteller in the world. He was just so funny. His timing was impeccable. Like, you learned so much from him. But then since he got $100 million from Netflix just to pop out specials, and he could be funny, he's just giving TED Talks. He's giving TED Talks about racism and Jews and all these things. And that's why I got in a fight with Ami about this. That's why I think he is deeply anti-Semitic. Not because he made, like, Andrew Schultz makes Jewish jokes. I don't think he has an anti-Semitic bone in his body.
Right.
He's trying to be funny. Dave Chappelle is at a point in his career where he's not trying to be funny. He's trying to make statements. And the things he says about Jews are not funny, which means he's trying to make a statement about Jews. And he's got ties to Louis Farrakhan and his...
But I'm saying, is that a thing that happens the second you try to make a point, you get less funny? Is that a thing? This is on a comedy sense.
I guess so. If you're not looking for the funny, like
Right.
a lot of the best comedians there are very like apolitical. They'll make fun equally of the left and the right because they don't care. They do not care about like the outcome of election or anything like that. They just want to find the funny in everything, and they will make fun of everyone equally.
Right.
So
I've heard a lot of comedians say that, like,
once you're on a team, it's harder to find the funny because you need a certain conclusion.
Because you need a conclusion. I got you.
You meaning like you need to end at a certain point. If that's not the funny point, then.
By the way, Shane Gillis is the absolute best of this. He could say whatever point he
Right.
wants to make, but he will say both sides every time.
He's a history buff also.
Yeah.
He knows a lot.
He's so great.
Yeah.
He's so great. Sometimes I think I'm so happy this human being was created in this world.
Yeah.
It could not have gotten these laughs.
100%.
Shane Gillis is one of those people. Like, I'm so
Yes.
happy he's around. I hope he doesn't become anti-Semitic.
Again, like he's not like an angry person. So I don't know if like he would become anti anything.
Do you get to meet these guys? Or it's
I
not
wish.
yet? Not yet.
Shane Gillis, no. That's like,
But these guys like show up at clubs. Sometimes.
oh, I met him at a club, yeah, but not in the capacity of a comedian. What I did was I so Comedy Cellar, which is the #1 comedy club in America,
Right.
when they throw their lineups come out at the beginning of the week or like a week and a half in advance, and they sell out basically every show. So you could get reservations, but if they put Gillis or Schultz on a lineup, or if they put someone like big on a lineup, sometimes you feel like those tickets will sell right away very hard. So I'll make reservations for those right away. And I saw Gillis twice, saw Schultz there once, and they take your phones away because they're practicing material for their upcoming special. So the last time I saw Gillis there, I brought 2 phones because I wanted to get a picture with him.
Really?
Yeah, he's just the GOAT to me. Like, I'm obsessed with his comedy. And then when he went to the bathroom, like I was shaking. It was like meeting Ramosha Feinstein to Lahavdil. Like I was like, can I show him camera? He's like, yeah, dude, do whatever you want. Like, he's like, you know how he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
And I took a selfie with him, and like horrible selfie because my hands were shaking. But that was the only time I like.
Really? It was a bad selfie because you were
Horrible.
shaking too much?
Yeah, whenever I met Bill Burr the same way.
Really?
Yeah, not in the capacity of community, just as a fan. Like he happened to stop by the Stand, which is a great like one of the newer comedy clubs. I mean, not newer comedy. It's new. It's like newer in its bigness. I guess they get real brand names now. Syrian Jew actually manages it. A friend of mine.
Are a lot of the managers behind this Jewish, like in every other?
Yeah,
circuit?
Noam Dworkin is an
I don't know
Israeli.
who that is.
Noam Dworkin is the owner of the Comedy Cellar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's actually good friends with Dave Chappelle.
Really?
Yeah.
You think Dave Chappelle is anti-Semitic?
Yep. I think you could like some certain Jews and be anti-Semitic, but I think he has a deep dislike for Jewish people.
Yeah.
Same way, like you could have black friends, but if you walk down the street late at night and you would cross the street for a black guy, but not for a white guy, then you have some racism. So I think
Right.
Dave Chappelle is the same way. I think he like the way he talked, like his joke about space Jews and Jews taking over
Space shoes? I missed
space,
that one.
whatever. It's about Jews taking over the planet. It's an allusion to Israel, and it was many years ago. So nobody like really was onto it. But then when he came out clear that about his feelings about the situation in Israel, you kind of like reinterpret like the stuff he said in the past.
Right. You never meet these guys.
I mean, would you say Louis Farrakhan is the most notable anti-Semite?
He's pretty big.
Yeah, so
Although
Dave
the
Chappelle's
Arab world is catching up.
Yeah, that's true.
We
I
just
mean,
don't talk to those guys much.
I would say he's number 2 now to Dan Bilzerian, but Dave Chappelle's pretty close with that guy.
Dude, Candace Owens went off the rails too. But she's not a comedian, I guess. So
I don't really listen to Candace. I don't find her entertaining at all. It doesn't bother me like when like people get very worked up about Candace and like she's not important.
I just think that these people and this is the thing with comedy also, is that they have
Yes.
comedy is a way of us getting into our deepest stuff, even if we don't let it go once in a while. But they give us permission. Even
More than that, it's the way to influence the human brain in the most profound way. Not comedy, but entertainment in general. Movies, TV. The way you can change someone's opinion. Debates don't change people's opinions because you're on guard. You watch a debate between Cenk Uygur and Ben Shapiro, and you're on one side. You know you are trying to be convinced of something. Right? Whereas if you watch a movie which has a certain message to it, and you're just enjoying the movie, that can really change an
it's
opinion
just
in your brain.
getting in there.
Yeah.
There's
I have a good friend, Michael Borkow, in LA. I hope he doesn't mind me quoting him. He was the executive producer of Friends for a while. Brilliant guy. He's a From guy now. I speak to him about a lot of stuff. I spoke to him about. We actually like started talking nothing to do with comedy. We're just like, he studied a lot about faith and things like that. So I would talk to him a lot. And I was telling him about how there's like certain movies that I find like great messages. I would love my kids to watch them and like deeply fundamental. And he's not Haredi, but he was saying how he does not let one piece of Hollywood touch his kids.
Really?
Not one piece. Because he said it like almost sounds like a Hasidic idea, Hasidic idea in like a way, but I know that he's like, I know the people that write these things. I know that they are putting their heart into these stories, and the way you convince someone of something is not by telling them, it's by telling them a story that subliminally has that message, and I know the messages that are being put into these things, and I don't want it. Even a totally clean movie with no curses and no women, he's like, I know who writes these messages.
So he's just not letting his kids touch it.
Right.
That's wild. I once heard about Shlomo Kabach, which blew my mind. He said that you could read any book you want. I don't know if I agree with him, but he said like non-Jewish books, but you should never listen to non-Jewish music. He says it's going into your soul.
That
I've heard it, but I can't believe it because it's Shlomo Kabach. But okay.
The reason I hold to that is like, it's the funniest thing for me. Like, I'm obsessed with Jewish music to this day. It's like I will never give up. You would, I mean,
really?
Again, I keep kosher. I'm making hyperbole here. You would see me eat a cheeseburger before you see me like give up A.B. Rottenberg.
Dude, A.B. Rottenberg agreed to come on my pod. He never goes on a pod, and I missed him. It was like a conflict of I'm gonna get him, hopefully.
I'm very into that. First of all, people say it's because like the music is a direct line to the neshama, whatever. You're connecting with the soul of the person that wrote it. That I don't know about. I'm not so big on neshamas, and I mean I don't know about that stuff, but it happens to be I've seen it make a huge impact in my life. The things that are always on my head because I was only allowed to listen to Jewish music growing up, and I'm obsessed with it, are Mamar Chazal and Psukim and things like that because it's always what I'm repeating.
Right.
You can see me running on this West Side Highway without a yarmulke.
Yeah.
With big beats, look like a frayid, and then you pull me over, I'm listening to like Morty Shapiro Simcha dancing, swear. Or Dance with Daskell, yeah. I run to Dance with Daskell.
So even the newer stuff, you still getting into it?
Chaim Tish, everything.
I don't know what to do about myself because I'm in love with the older stuff, but then it just stopped, and it's all non-Jewish music since then. I can't even listen to Jewish music. It's so hard for me. I don't know why.
Well, there's good new stuff. You gotta find. You don't like Kempa? You don't like Yishai Ribo, Hanan Ben Ari?
So my wife plays it a lot, and it's like it's good. But you know what it is? It's that it's the same thing. It's submission. There's a mission behind a lot of the good musicians. Like they try to tell me to be from, like, or have more amuno or something like that. And I think it affects the music to me. But I may be wrong. My wife plays it all the time. We cook together on Friday. And like there's always this Jewish music. It's not hitting me like any of the non-Jewish bands. But that being said, I mean, like Journeys, Destinies, like all those stuff. Like I sat down with A.B. Rottenberg and I said, "You are the reason I'm from." And he's like,
yeah, I relate to that. I mean, he's not the reason. I mean,
like he's when I was like in a really bad place, I'd have the headphones on. I'd be listening to Marvelous Meals Machine. I'm loving that stuff. I'm gonna listen to Journeys, all the Destinies, Moshe Yes. These guys, like, they hit me at a core that I don't even know what to do with it. Right. It's like but then I lost it. Like I can't listen to Moshe Shapiro to Morty Shapiro. It's pop to me. I shouldn't say it because if I get him on the pod, it's gonna be bad. But
I hear a lot of people like your generation say that, like you're not your gender, whatever. Like my older siblings are like very anti like new wave of Jewish music. I think like they're matching the energy of the time. Like you can't. It's about like you can't compete with Swedish House Mafia. As much as I love Rivi Schwabel and Akiva exclamation point and I'll swear by those guys. Right. Like if we're gonna keep people engaged in from culture and from whatever your goal is, or isn't, like we're not competing with Swedish House Mafia and Two Friends with the Rabbi's Sons. It's just not doable. Right? You gotta Barasi Yitzhar, Barasi Torah Tava. And if like you're gonna be in a world surrounded by nightclubs which are playing the most banging non-Jewish music. So like you're gonna need a Morty Shapiro and whoever it is to step up and create something comparable in the Jewish world.
So maybe it's the same reason why I don't really like the non-Jewish music that's new.
Oh yeah, it could be. Are you not into like house music and stuff?
No, listen, I can listen to it, but I'm a classic rock guy. Like I'm like listening to still a lot of classic rock and
like what kind of stuff?
I mean, I know he's an anti-Semite, but I could do Pink Floyd all day long. I could,
Grateful Dead, like Fish.
I mean, Grateful Dead I overdosed on, so I can't go back. I just interviewed somebody who just a Grateful Dead cover band. I had a year I was in Neve in Israel, and I had a year where
A
Grateful
lot of
Dead,
deadheads in
yeah,
in the vet.
Grateful Dead was playing for a year in my room. It never went off. Even went to sleep, it was on, and I was first of all, I could never tell when one song ended and the next song began. It was just like one, and then I was like, I'll never listen to Dead ever again. And I went to the last big concert I went to was a Fish show, and I loved it, but I kind of got overdosed from like I had the hippie days. I did the hippie days. I overdosed myself,
fun.
and I can't.
My lack of knowledge of non-Jewish music is always like hurt, like, cause like if I'm at a party or at a bar or something, like I have to pretend to like know these songs. I don't know any of them.
You know what I mean?
Nothing.
I love that you love all this Jewish music.
Love Jewish music.
It's great. I actually, a lot of my, one of my secrets is that Yaakov Shweki was my roommate in high school. So
He's in rehabs also, isn't he? Into like the rehab thing, his wife's organization or something.
doing like special needs kids.
Oh, okay.
So he wasn't really my roommate. He was like, we called him the third roommate because he was best friends with my roommate, and he was just always in the room. And I would not know half of the Jewish music if it wasn't for him. Like he would play that music, and he was practicing how to throw the mic from one.
He was like one of the first like Jewish like pop stars, like celebrities.
Yeah.
Shweki was like,
he like worshipped like Mohammed David, Avram Fried. That was like he was like, I'm hitting them, and then he went.
really?
He worshipped them.
So that I don't, but like, I can't believe that the really good musicians in the Jewish world didn't have non-Jewish inspirations. It like that. I can't like it again. Like your Shlomo Carlebach.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to imagine that like his musical inspirations that he learned to play guitar from and all these things weren't some of the best non-Jewish.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I heard him
musicians.
say this, and like it blew my freaking mind.
Like a guy like Eitan Katz, like he's just a magician with a guitar. You're telling me like he didn't listen to the best non-Jewish guitarists like growing up to learn how to play? I can't imagine that.
Maybe.
Like he had to.
I can tell you this, though, when I knew Shweki, I mean, maybe things have changed. I don't think there was any non-Jewish music in his life at all.
He's not a musician though. He's a singer.
He's a singer.
Beautiful voice, everything. He's not a musician.
Right.
Not a
But
composer.
he wrote a lot of great music.
Oh, he did.
I think he wrote. I don't actually know.
Right.
I don't actually know. But it is interesting because I met with this musician a while ago, and I realized I don't listen to so much music anymore. Like, I listen to a lot of podcasts and all that stuff. Like, I listen to so much music, and I think it's just not... I said, what do you think about that? He said, that's really, really sad. Like, it's like you got to listen to music. It's for your soul.
We can't listen to music this year.
Yeah. So there's nothing.
Yeah.
But it hasn't affected me at all.
Interesting.
Like, I just because I'm always listening to like an audiobook or something, like there's always someone talking. Actually, music puts me to sleep when I'm driving. Like, not anymore because I got a Tesla. It just drives me, so it doesn't. You don't have to worry.
He has a Tesla, guys.
Tesla, which used to be cool to say that.
Yeah, no,
All right,
it's not cool anymore.
Yeah, it's like my brother lives in Toms River. He said he went to Mincha, and it was like
Tesla City.
It was like there were like 25 cars, and 15 of them were Teslas.
What's going on in Tom? I want to do a show in Tom's River.
So do a show. Why not?
I don't know. I just don't have contacts. So your brother can hook it up.
I don't know. My brother can, but I feel like
I feel like it's a great crowd.
I feel like the Jewish world is so ready for this Jewish comedy stuff, like all day. We don't have it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge market, I think, that no one's tapping into.
Yeah, I mean, frum people are hard in general because they don't come to creative performances to enjoy. They come to judge. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, you come to a frum comedian, even you're probably like, let's see if he's funny.
Let's see.
You're not, like, in the mood to laugh. You're in the mood to laugh, but you're not like, oh, I'm going to have a banger night. You're like, let me assess the jokes, which makes it harder to get into rhythm as a comedian because even the jokes that hit, they're like, they laugh and they're like, okay, Vasnach, what's the next one? Let's see if I still like it.
Right.
Yeah, so it's harder.
I will tell you that you're 100% right because you came in the other night and did the Our Place gig.
Yeah.
And first of all, I love that all you guys had no idea what you were walking into.
Yeah,
You're
no
like,
clue.
what the heck is this place? But
Because usually those gigs are the most brutal gigs when you're like at a basement in Brooklyn that like you have they're like, yeah, it's like an outreach center. I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be terrible. But it wasn't. I was expecting the worst.
I was laughing my head off. I was very surprised.
Yeah.
But I think when I see live comedy, I just loosen up. I'm like, that's it. I'm ready to laugh.
Because it's supposed to be, comedy is not supposed to be recorded. Like it's a human experience. It's really not meant to be, like specials are great, but it's really supposed to be a connective experience.
It's wild. I built that stage in that room like
Yeah? With
years
your
ago.
hands?
No. I got it built. And the idea was to have like little shows there. But the only thing I could really think of was a comedy show because it's so small, it's tiny. So it's like, yeah, music show, you'd be deaf like in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you guys could do open mic nights there. It would be great for the guys.
Dude, you gave me so many ideas after that show. I was like, this is amazing. I didn't think it would be that funny. It was just, they came in and just freaking rocked the house. It was really, really funny. I thought it was very funny. Anyway, I always finish with a question.
Okay.
Which I don't know if it works in the context of this this conversation we had. But the question is always like the rooftop question. Like if you're on a rooftop yelling something to the world, like, and you have like millions of people listening, which is not what's happening.
That's a good
We have
question.
thousands of people listening. Like, what's your message to the world? Throw you under the bus there, bro.
Not to from people to the world.
To the world. Just yelling something to the world. Threw you off because this has been a very different type of conversation.
Oh, well, can I look at my phone? Mm-hmm. Is that cool? I have a list of like quotes I have on my phone
No way.
that I like. I don't know if I'll use one of them.
Are you writing all the time? Like you're always
No,
like, coming up with
unfortunately.
ideas?
I mean, like I'm always like writing ideas down, but then fleshing out. I wish I was more disciplined about it.
Because like every time I hear comedians talk, and they're like they writing and writing and writing. Mark Norman's my favorite with all his stuff in his back pocket, like just piles of papers.
Yeah.
You have something? Nothing.
No, I mean I have a lot of. What would be my like if everyone in the world was like listening to me? What would be my?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be so deep. I should
think
probably have warned you before.
no. I honestly, like I don't know. Probably something classic I say all the time. Like I don't think there is like a greater experience, meaning, purpose in life than family. Like I think like it's losing focus in the world today now. Like we're not reproducing ourselves, but like I'm so close with my family, with my parents specifically, and I meet so many people my age that like kind of like it's not like the most important part of their life. Like my message, like if I could scream something to like a million different people, I would just say like work harder on your familiar relationships, work harder on your relationship with your parents, with your siblings, I mean, I don't need to, thank God, because
Right.
I have great ones. Like literally, like I'm not just saying that like I'm on the receiving end of all my familiar relationships, but I think that I don't know. It's like the classic conversation people have. Like I never met someone that like said like, oh, I had too many kids. Like I shouldn't have had that one.
Right.
Whatever. Like I don't know. I think big families, lots of engagement with your family. Like again, I'm having a hard time like synthesizing my message.
That's a good one.
But if I message like
Freaking love your family.
yeah, I don't know. Call your parents more.
Call your parents.
I'm gonna get
Kids, call your parents.
I'm gonna get shit from my mom and dad for this one. I'm like, you don't call.
Yeah. What?
Nah.
Did you know it's right? You just didn't do it. I have a thought on the economy of a Jewish family is you always have enough money for one less kid. Sorry, that's the. You just reminded me of that. But
I have a joke about that, or like how when I have a long routine in my family, like because when I asked for a dog, my dad was not into pets, very anti-pets. He's like, we're from Jews, like we don't have pets, we have kids.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm 11, and like they don't sell babies at PetSmart. Like I don't know what you. And I always make a joke, obviously tongue in cheek, but like I always make a joke with my sister's family that she has 5 little nut jobs running around, and she also tells me that same thing. She's like, I'll never get a pet, I'll just have another kid. And I'm like, I met your kids, like you should have got a couple dogs instead of some of those guys.
The most behaved person in my family is my dog.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. I never thought I have a dog. I had kind of the same idea.
Right.
Someone dropped off a dog.
Really?
I have a dog for 7 years.
Yeah.
It just they said, "Could you watch our dog?" I thought it was for
They
like
never
a week.
came back.
They never came back. They just abandoned their dog, and it's the greatest. This is not to say anything bad about all my kids; they're amazing, but she's definitely better behaved than all of them. You know, they're very well behaved.
Yeah.
I should not say that. I am curious how I ended up deeply in the mono-Orthodox world by accident.
Where'd you go
I
to
grew up-
like yeshiva and stuff?
I was like Sichitzluk, Darchei Torah, like I was far
okay.
away. So it was like we was black hat all the way. But we had a very weird house.
So I was between like two. My family, like my dad was a rabbi in like a YU community, so I went to all modern schools. My family was very from,
Right.
and like my brothers all learned at like more yeshivish places afterwards, except for me. I mean, I went to Shai Yasher for a little bit, but
You did?
I mean, you have to. If you're defective, you have to pass.
I was
through
one of the
Shai Yasher.
youngest people ever in Chayashiv. I was 14. Rabbi Greenshare. That's 1,000 years ago.
Very green. He has his own yeshiva now for Rockaway, doesn't he?
I think he is. I don't know. I don't know where he is. But yeah, you're kind of in the middle. Like, where are you? Nobody knows.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's protected me a lot. I think like a lot of like the things we've talked about, and even I would like talk to Label about. Like I have much less like angst or like for like certain things in the yeshiva world because I wasn't exposed to it as much. Like,
I'm also fascinated how you really don't trash on the community much. I mean, from what I've seen, anything of your stuff, it's not a lot of trashing on the community.
of all the terrible communities in the world, it's by far the best one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just like everything's got to be relative.
You know, there's a line, Churchill line. He says that democracy is the worst form of government besides for all the other ones.
Right.
So it's like, it is funny because we're actually doing a video for our place now, and the guy doing the video is like trying to kind of have me talk about all the bad stuff in the community, so it's like sensational. And I'm like, this is a great community.
Right.
I think
that
it's got problems, but it's an amazing community, and it's as close to a community as you're gonna get of any other community that I know of.
Right. I mean, it's unfair a little bit. Like it's easy for me not to trash. Like I had everything, you know. I had a great life, so I never had a bad Rebbe give me annoying Musar, and like never had like my parents annoying me. Like I just had like very loving.
Dude, you need a better backstory, bro.
I know, it's sad.
Your
Like
backstory is pathetic.
really pathetic.
It's like, how did you become a villain? You got nothing.
Yeah.
You're not a villain.
No, there's No, there's some stuff like there was obviously hard stuff growing up in the rabbi's house that we would need a whole nother podcast to discuss. I'm happy to come back, but I could create a villain origin story.
Yeah.
If I needed to.
Well, that's my thing with trauma is that like everybody has trauma, and the cure for it is a great family.
Right.
So it's not like we don't go through hardships, but if we have a strong family network, I was talking about the rehab thing.
Right.
Like the answer is that we're giving you the strength to deal with all that.
And
crap.
from people have the advantage of even if they don't, God forbid, have a good family, like we can find them one usually.
Yeah, like a lot. It's pretty wild. Anyway, okay, so we're gonna stop. Just
Oh, amazing.
because we have to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Thank you, brother. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Loved
Thank
it.
you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
That was awesome.
Thank you for this day that I've been given. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this chance. Thank you for this chance to live anew.